And let me just go live on IG. Let's go live on IG. There we go. All right, we are live. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another session of the Masculinity podcast, where we focus on male masculinity, self-improvement, and purpose. Live out of San Francisco on this great Thursday night. As always, I do appreciate you guys always tuning into my live Thursday shows for the Masculine Mind. As you guys can see, we have the fellas here tonight. We got a great panel. We have a great show planned for you guys. And as always, we do have some ladies jumping on in an hour from now to join the Masculine Mind pod. So as always, if you see value in the content, the best way to show support and love to the channel is to smash that like and subscribe button real quick. I really do appreciate you guys always supporting the show and the channel. Don't forget, this is a public show. A lot of you guys do reach out to me constantly, especially the ladies, always asking me about questions about the male perspective and about masculinity. The best way to get the best response, jump on my Thursday night shows, which is tonight. The link is in the description below on YouTube. So if you're watching this from IG, Facebook, X, or Twitch, come over to YouTube and you'll be able to click on that link. It's in the description, and you'll be able to ask your questions to us on these fellas, and we get a chance to respond to a lot of the questions that you often ask me on IG. So I appreciate you guys as always, and the fellas as well. Definitely jump on, click on that link. Whether we agree or disagree, I definitely would like to hear the perspectives of other men and women, especially for the topic tonight. We're going to focus on core values and principles. And of course, don't forget, if you do want to some questions you want to ask to the panel and to the guests, drop it through a super chat. If you want to share your voice and opinions, drop it through a super chat. I'll be able to put it on screen, read it out for you guys, and respond to the questions that you guys may have. And of course, if you just want to donate to the channel, thank you so much. Drop it through a super chat, and I'll be able to give you a shout out as well. But I believe that's all my YouTube stuff. I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Global Financial Impact. Shout out to Savannah and her team. She has a financial service business. So if you're looking for some help when it comes to life insurance, when it comes to setting up a college fund for your kids, setting up a financial plan for your future, for your family. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, definitely reach out to her. If you want to go into the financial service businesses, and if you want to learn how to become your own financial family bank, you can definitely reach out to her. So shout out to Savannah and her team. Reach out to her. All the contact info for her will be in the description below. And I'm actually hosting a podcast. This is the first time I'm about to share this, but Savannah and her team is coming down this Saturday, and I'm going to do a exclusive podcast with her and her team. And then I'm going to drop the episode on Monday. But I'm excited for that. I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much for tuning in for the live shows. I see you, Gas Mask, already on the live chat. I appreciate you, Gas Mask. As always, let's get the live chat popping. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get active, and let me get your feedback. Always appreciate your feedback. You guys always share on the live chat. But besides that, that's pretty much all my YouTube stuff. We have a great show planned for you guys. And shout out to you guys one more time on the live chat. Of course, the fellas, appreciate you guys. I see Life with Jess. Hey, what's up, Jess? Good to see you in the live chat. I appreciate you. It was definitely a great pleasure to have you on the podcast last night, Jess. I appreciate you. But let's get right into it, fellas. As always, thank you for your time. But if you guys don't mind, fellas, go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for yourselves, for people that may not know who you are. I'll start with you. Go ahead, Prime. Give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there.
My name's Joe, and I go by Primate here on the show. And as of right now, I just work in corporate America as a design consultant. And so, yeah, I work in the private sector. Other than that, thanks for having me on the panel tonight.
All right. Thank you so much. Always good to have you on here, Joe. We'll keep it moving. I'll pass it to you, Manic. Go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everybody out there.
Hey, I'm the Manic Genius. You can follow me on IG. Just a guy here trying to learn and sprinkle in some of my own knowledge as well.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate to have you on, Manic. I'll pass it to you, Jerk. Go ahead and give yourself a quick intro.
All right. I'm the Sophisticated Jerk, a.k.a. the light-skinned man of the year. Also, I'm a procurement executive out here in DC area. And I did watch the show last night, Will. Great show. But everybody, you don't deserve shit. And I'll just drop it right there.
All right. Thank you so much, Zurich, as always. The light skin man of the year for the Mastermind Pod. Shout out to you, man. And last but not least, Paulo, quick intro for everybody out there.
Yeah, look, it's Paulo here. By day, you can find me on pretty much a construction site in New Zealand. And in my private life, I'm someone who's a proponent of chest hair, masculinity, and manhood. And this is a conversation that I thoroughly enjoy with these gentlemen who provide me with a lot of different perspective in terms of how we look at blueprint and what we think in regards to standards and values. So looking forward to the conversation. I won't take up too long of your time, Will. So let's get into it.
All right. Appreciate it, Paulo. Thank you, fellas. Thank you, fellas, for the great intros. Appreciate you guys on the live chat. Thank you so much, as always. If you're tuning in, if you want to jump on as a virtual guest, the link is in the description. And click on that link and you'll be able to jump on. But we'll go right into it. So the topic that we're going to focus on tonight is why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity? Okay. So I know we've had this conversation multiple times offline, fellas, about the importance of core values and principles. But I think it's an important discussion to have, especially the type of content that I do see on the space. I don't like to use this buzzword, but when I use it for the sake of people understanding some context, but there's this conversation online from both the men and the women talking about a high value man, right? They want a high value man. And a lot of times when I see online, and we've discussed this before, I think a lot of times the definitions of what most people would consider a high value man, whether it's female and male, especially the things that I see online, it's more on outcomes. It's more on physical attributes, financial success. So it's more of the outcomes that a man has to achieve, and there's no conversation really about the importance of core values and principles. And I think what I do see in the space, especially my feedback I do receive from a lot of women, is they find guys who have successful outcomes, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's financial, whether it's own family. They have great outcomes and they have great success with what they bring, but they still find problems when trying to find committed, long-term, healthy relationship with these men, because these men, they lack principles, values, or integrity, which is a lot of the things that I hear from both the men and the women. So I think this is an important conversation to have, because there is a young generation of men who, because of the type of content they consume online, especially in the manosphere, in the space, they have the assumption that just because you make money that you're going to become a good masculine man, or just because you have a certain outcome, a certain success, that's going to be linked to your development of your masculinity. So there's a lot of guys who, and I don't know if you guys saw that episode with Jurek and Balofesa on Manic, but I believe it was an episode on Fresh and Fit, where the guy called in and he said, I did all the things that he told me. I made the money. I improved my fitness. I did all these things, but how come I'm still struggling as a man to not only attract relationships, but also to maintain it? And then based on that conversation, they had a hard time going back and forth with that guy. But I think a lot of times when that's missing from the conversation, especially when the development of masculinity, and I'm not ignoring the importance of financial stability and all this, and becoming a successful man of purpose, and becoming competent, becoming good at what you do, whatever you choose to do as a man. But I think it goes deeper than that, especially when it comes to defining what a good, strong man is. And that comes down to his core values and principles. So I'm excited to explore that this topic for you guys tonight. I know we've discussed this multiple times on previous podcasts, offline, and when we have our private conversations. But I think this is an important conversation to have, because what I see online today is a man's masculinity, or a man's value of defining himself to be a good, strong, masculine man is more likely linked to his successful attributes or the success that he brings. And a lot of men and women find themselves, they attract those types of men, but they still struggle of finding men with good character, good integrity, and men who are committed and loyal to build a good, strong family. So that's the conversation I want to have tonight, fellas. And everybody on the live chat, if you're watching this right now, let me know what you guys think from the men and the ladies. What do you guys, why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity? That's going to be the topic that we're going to explore and expand on tonight. So let me pass it back to you, fellas. What's your opening thoughts on the topic? And then we have some subtopics we can discuss. But let me start with you. I'll start with you, Jerk. Jerk, why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity?
No, great subject, and I think this is important. So let me address that clip that you was talking about, because I did see that clip.
Yeah.
And the reason what a lot of these guys and why I did kind of, we had the one, I'll say, live that we did we were giving pushback on the red pill. So I don't have an issue with guys giving other guys information and stuff like that. But one of the things I see in these spaces, and I know y'all see them too, we talked about it, is just like everything is women centric. And then people miss the components. Like you said, they think that I could go, earn a lot of money and I get some success from that angle. But they don't understand, like, you got to develop your mentality, your spirituality, all these other factors that when you have a true like core of like principles, standards, and values, it just keeps you grounded to where you're focusing on a bigger picture than, all this superficial materialistic stuff where it's like you're thinking long term. So those things kind of keep you on track. It keeps you focused on that. When you develop your mentality and stuff, and that's one of the biggest things that people don't understand. So when when you kind of like have that growth, when you're building in all those other areas versus just, getting money, it's just attractive to people because, like I said, you have the discipline and it shows up in multiple facets of your life. For example, like I remember the other day I was about to, I was tired. I didn't feel like working out. And then all of a sudden, like on my IG, here's this picture of like Will working out. He's doing some like, I was like, shit, let me get up and go to the gym. And then Manic called me up. He's like, man, I'm about to go hit the gym. So, it's just stuff like that where it helps you push through like those down periods that you might be having, whether it's at work, you might be working those longer hours. So, those principles and standards just keep you like grounded. It gives you that extra push. Also, when you have a standard, like my standard is like operating in excellence. So them days, like I said, I'm tired, I'm sick, I'm gonna get my ass up, man. I'm gonna go work them extra hours, and then that's what helps you get promoted. But like I said, when you start understanding your value in life, you don't have to run towards like any female. You kind of start learning like discernment, like which females you need to kind of start selecting because you're not. We say all the time, you're not thirsty at that point. So like the guy in the Fresh and Fit video, I gave this a try. I did this. I'm still having terrible results because they really don't understand the value that they have because, they lack the standards, the principles, and the value and stuff across the board. So sorry, I was rambling a little bit, but definitely a critical subject.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that, Jerk. And I see you, lovely world on the live chat. Good to see you. Get that live chat active, but I'll pass it to you, Manic. Why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity?
You're on mute.
My bad. Yeah, I clicked on the wrong thing. I tried to control D, but I did control S. Before I answer that question, I want to go back to the clip that you had mentioned. And I concur with what the Jerk said, so I won't like regurgitate what he said, but very similarly, a lot of times guys are getting the results, that they deserve. They might not be the desired results. So you can't just one trick, one lane, and then think you're going to get the results that you really want. women do want a well-rounded guy. You know, they want it all. So there's guys who kind of give off that perception of having it all, and those guys tend to get the majority of the women. Why, the other guys who don't have that tend to struggle. If you're a guy who's like not in great shape, and then you don't focus on that, and you just have a lot of money, then women are going to be looking at you as a resource because you don't have those other qualities. Now, you don't have to be an attractive guy, but if you get yourself jacked and ripped and in crazy shape, there's going to be certain women who are just going to be so drawn to that. They don't really care about your face as much. But this all goes back to similarly what the jerk said. It's like you have to be well-rounded. So get the money, get in shape, take care of yourself, hygiene, definitely if having faith, and I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. And that a lot of times will help you when you're down. And I think part of being masculine is knowing how to get yourself up when you are down. And having a sense of higher purpose, definitely helps with that. So it's personally helped me. That's why I get to come on here and smile all the fucking time, even when I'm going through shit. Because I have faith, and regardless of, whatever shit I'm dealing with at the time, I know that it's an opportunity for me to learn from it. So I just ride that shit out like, damn, this shit is fucked up, but I'm gonna get through it. But back to your question. I'm sorry, can you repeat it one more time, and I'll just try to answer it concisely.
Yeah, I mean, why are a man's core values and principles is essential to developing his masculinity? Why is it necessary for him to develop core values and principles within himself in his life?
It's important because that's where your leadership is going to stand. That's really the foundation of who you are as an individual. So it's going to be very difficult to lead somebody with a rocky with the foundation that's not sturdy. So your ethics, your morals, your moral compass, that's going to, once it's solidified, you start to move with a different level of structure and a different routine. And whether it's a woman that you're pursuing, or a woman pursuing you, or a friend group that you're leading, having a foundation is going to be that key component, for you to just move how you move. And I'm just going to address another point that's kind of like a little bit off, but leadership. A lot of times people have this different perspective of what leadership is, and they think that leadership is you go one way and all these people follow you. Sometimes leadership is going a way that nobody else wants to go, and nobody follows you because they may not be there yet. Sometimes you have to go off on your own by yourself, and it may be a year or two later before people start catching on. A lot like the whole 50-50 conversation. Like 2 years ago, that was like a bad word. Nobody was talking about that. They were like, you want to do that? Oh, you're not providing. You're a weak man. Like, you can't do this. Only real men can provide. Like, that was the entire climate. I couldn't think of anybody other than like the jerk and I who were on that like 50-50 wavelength. But literally 2 years later, it's like a real topic now, and a lot more people are jumping on it. And it's I think a lot of people have given their take, and it's been explained a little bit better over time. But that's a perfect example of like leadership. You have to do what works best for you, even if it's not the popular opinion. So you move, and eventually, if people see that it's working out well, they'll give it a shot, or they'll start to understand it for what it is. And so it goes all back into your core foundations. Like, if you're a good person, you have good ethics and good morals, you're not about to lead your household to the ground. You're not doing it for selfish intention. It's about building and creating that. And that's all based on your ethics and morals. So I would not tell women to blindly follow a man. It's like you have to follow a man who has a good foundation and who has, great fundamentals, because if you follow some of these motherfuckers out here in this space, they will lead you into the ground.
Yeah. Definitely facts.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Manic. Thank you so much. I see you, Lord Punisher, on the live chat. Good to see you, Lord Punisher, as always. Let's get that live chat active. Let's get those likes up, but we'll keep it moving. I'll pass it to you, Paulo. Paulo, why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity?
Yeah, I think for me, we have to understand what masculinity is. And I think, unfortunately, no one has really defined what that is in terms of what it means to a man. So we have all these sort of meanings circulating within people's head, but no one has actually put their hand up and said, I'm going to have an attempt at defining it. And what we've done so far in the masculine mind is that we've actually defined it, and it's quite concise. And there's a reason for it. So our definition of masculinity is masculinity is the fine thread that connects a man to nature, to his ability to control and manifest it when he sees fit. Now, there are three important components in that saying, or in that definition. The thread, it's very important. Nature and control. The thread is in between a man's nature and his ability to control. And the reason for that is its framework. The author of Atomic Habits, and I will have to confess I haven't read the book, but I've seen a lot of his, excerpts through other podcasts. And there was one thing that was said very beautifully by Chris Williamson, was that people don't rise to the level of their goals, they fall to the level of their systems. And I find that the saying, or the definition of masculinity with the idea of the thread, is the framework of how a man develops his ability to control his nature. Why is it important? Because we need to develop framework. A lot of the content you find online is that people are focused on outcome. And when they achieve their outcome, they no longer understand, where is my identity? Which is why a lot of people feel empty. In our conversation on this platform, what I love is that we talk about identity, which is the whole reason why we mention masculinity. These are the vital components that men are missing in a lot of these conversations. Your outcome or your level of success, or whatever your perception of success, is a byproduct of what your system and framework are. And if you don't develop those things and have an identity, unfortunately, you will search the world and the zeros behind your bank account, and you will always and forever feel empty. So that's why it's important, is that we have to develop an identity first, which is the whole idea of masculinity. And we have to understand in what parameters and frameworks do those things exist in. And unfortunately, we just have an extreme tunnel vision focus on outcome that we lack. What we're saying here is that standard and value should be the core effort of most men's self-improvement, whatever it is that they look into in terms of develop who they become. So we've also trying to reduce those things to 3 tenets, which is accountability, resilience, and disciplines. Those things as a foundation, to me, can build other virtues and other things that can be beneficial to a man. But those things for me is very important, and I'll define why they're very important. Discipline is very important, and the reason for that is this becomes your identity at face value. Most men, even women, can tell who's a very disciplined man and who is not. It comes across as the way he moves, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself. If you look at Jerk and if you look at Manic, one of the things that they are consistent in is the way that they present themselves. They're always dressed up, and even Dame. And when you see that out in public, and when you come across guys like these, there is a perception of these guys are very disciplined. The way that they present themselves gives me somewhat of an interpretation of their character, that they're disciplined. So it opens up doorways and opportunity for these guys, rather than having to get down and know, oh, is he resilient? Is he accountable? So that's an example of why those 3 things for me is very important. I've sort of put all these things as an opening statement in a pot and sort of mix it up, but essentially that's why it's important. We have to develop framework, and when we look back in history, those you know, those things have been consistent in men who weren't just successful, but men that were revered as good leaders, and men that we look at and go, I want those things for myself, not only because it improves an outcome that I desire, but not only that, there's longevity and sustainability in it. So that's another part of the conversation, is not just the achievement, it's the maintenance.
All right. Appreciate that, Balo. Thank you for sharing. We'll pass it to you, Prime. Prime, what's your response, your opening statement to the question, why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity?
Real quick, why does Prime look like a RB singer tonight?
You
No,
do got the fresh shape up. It's the lineup, man. Like
Get the Steve Harvey edge lineup right now.
Hey,
Go ahead, Prime.
You do like you sing.
that's an interesting way to compliment me. I'll take it. No, but I mean, so when I look at the framework of, you know, why are values important just in general to the masculine, just to the masculinity in mind, if we break down the actual meaning of values, okay, so when you're breaking down the meaning of value, it goes into what is deserved and what is held of importance, okay? And so when I look at holding values as far as being masculine or in my masculine, the best way to put it is I can break it up into 6 different things. One is going to be a sense of purpose, like having a sense of purpose and a morale. Okay. 2 is going to be some sort of ethical framework, you know, understanding on touch points whenever you're approaching anybody, whether it be a woman, whether it be other men, whether it be business practices. Ethical frameworks is always going to come into play, whether you're negotiating or conversating or just even having a dialogue, just like what we're doing right now. And then that also will lead into building relationships. I think there's too many men that are not building enough relationships and wondering how to build relationships instead of just trying to build relationships. On that note, it will lead more into self-reflection and growth. So the inner growth will be better for, I personally think that it will be better for a man than any kind of external factor of influence that a man can do. Work harder on yourself than you will on your work, and your work will in return prove to be worked harder than anybody else. I mean, look at most of the men here. I mean, we're all proof of that. Working hard on ourselves has gotten us to where we're at today. After that is going to be role modeling. I mean, you know, Manic brought up a good, really good point of view, which was women like men being well-rounded. And so role modeling and cultural expectations I feel like it couples those two together. And so when you look at the actual verbiage of value and breaking down all of the 6 things that I just talked about, I think that that's a really good start for most men to try to execute on, so that way they can have some sort of sense of purpose, going back to the first thing that I brought up. And so it's like when you can really break down things and articulate yourself into setting those goals and plans, not just setting a goal and a pipe dream, but actually putting a goal on the board and then reverse engineering that to create a plan of action, so that way you have something to do, so that way you're not so stagnant. I think that for any man, that will get you a lot further than whatever most men have been doing today.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Hey, Will, can I add something in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nah, because everybody hit on great points. But one other thing I would say, like, you know, having standards, principles, and values, and it also keeps you out of trouble as a man. Because you know, one of the major stories that's coming out right now is like what's happening to Diddy and, you know, various other guys like that. So they have the appearance of being super successful. You know, Diddy been one of the type guys in the music industry, especially for rap, for a long time. But, you know, his lack of like discipline and all this other stuff is causing his downward spiral right now. And I was watching a clip of the raid on his house where, his sons were in handcuffs too. So when you don't have principle values and all the stuff that we're outlining today, it could impact your legacy too. So it was sad when I saw that clip and I saw his like 2 sons in handcuffs, because of his actions and stuff. So, it keeps you, like I said, out of any bad territory, any bad acts, could save your life and stuff like that. So I think a lot of time that's, people don't focus on that type of stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to hit on that point because I know we were kind of mentioning, the Diddy clip and people are covering it. But, I really ain't hear too many people, like when they speak about the whole incident, talk about like his lack of like principles, values, and standards and stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Jerk. But since you brought it up, I'm just curious to ask the panel, what was your take on the whole Diddy situation, and especially, we're talking about core values and principles when it comes to masculinity. Diddy is, he's reached the highest level of fame, money, and resources. But it's sad that, not sad. I don't feel sad because it's the consequences of his choices. What we have to see legally, but you can build something, you can build a legacy, but then have it all fall apart because of the things that's coming out now when you don't act in a way that reflects good morals and values and principles. So, and I've seen this not only with Diddy, but I've seen this with a lot of guys. They achieve so much great success in trying to build a legacy, all to come at the end being destroyed because they made bad decisions for their life that doesn't reflect good moral character and integrity and values. And that's going to be the defining moment. The last thing people are going to remember that person was the last decision you made at the end of your legacy, not all the work you've done in the beginning. And you just got to throw it all away. And it's, but yeah, I want to pass it back to the panel. Thank you for bringing it up, Jerk. I think it's important. But do you guys have anything you want to just share regarding the whole Diddy situation that's relating to the topic for tonight, core values and principles, why that's important for men?
I think what Jerk is speaking to is that as men, we have an affinity towards the extremes on both sides of the spectrum. And that's built into us, whether you want to look at it biologically or you want to look at it, from a psychological point of view. So the framework that we're talking about is essentially what maintains at least a code of conduct and how we behave, right? I'm not going to speak to the literal example of Diddy, but things like protection. So the extreme of protection when it comes to people you care about for us is what? You end another person's life. And when we speak about the things in terms of the system and framework that we're trying to derive some meaning from, is that it allows us to at least strategize and look, are these things, should I endeavor or should I pursue the extremes? Are those things, how are they going to affect other people within, the realm of my care? So that's what values and standards help us at least navigate those extremes. And unfortunate in this example is that someone has become enamored with power that they no longer consider the extremes, and they use that as their playground. And we see that, I don't know whether it's Peterson who said it on a podcast, but no one actually escapes their own persecution when they go outside of the realm of what is their standards and values. You don't. You think people get away with things, but they don't. The past and the history has a funny way of catching up with you. So I think that's very important for us to, for anyone who's listening, is that these frameworks don't deny you of the extremes. It allows you to navigate those extremes and be calculated in the sense of, is this going to be detriment to the people I care about? Or is it going to be beneficial in terms of how I interact with them?
Yeah. And also, I just want to add one thing, Paulo. Just add on to what you said about controlling a man's nature. So my it is our nature to go out there and pursue and be ambitious to be successful. But I believe that's why it's important for us to have core values and principles to control it, right? I think we brought up JP Jordan Peterson. He often says, you have to become a monster, be a monster, right? But the last part of that sentence is learn how to control it. And I think it's our nature as a man to, tend to be a little bit more violent. We tend to be a little bit more aggressive, tend to be a little more assertive. But it's learning how to use that, our very nature, to achieve the outcomes of what we want, but also use it in a good way to protect and provide for the people that we love and care about. And that's where the core values and principles come in place, because it is our nature as a man to be extreme because sometimes we do have to be extreme at certain times. In times of war, we have to be extreme. In times of protecting the people we love and care about, that's affecting their well-being, that we have to be extreme. But we also need to be able to control it and manifest it in certain times when we do need it to be extreme and we don't. And I think sometimes as men, when we don't have core values and principles, that's why sometimes we see a lot of guys who tend to go to the extreme end, and we do have the nature to do that, and then find themselves in situations like Diddy and other people who have done the same thing. So I was just thinking about that. It's the core. That's something that JP has always said, because in order to become highly successful as a man, we do have to push our limits. We do have to put ourselves in situations where our back is against the wall, and we have no other choice but to stand by on all 2 feet, and to work and build ourselves up. But also we have to also learn how to control that and let that take over and destroy our life. The very nature that we have as men to build our life can also be a very nature that we have also to destroy it. And I think that's something that JP talks about, like, become that fucking monster, be that fucking man, go out there and conquer the world, have an ego, have a walkabout in your step and believe in yourself. But at the same time, learn how to control that part of you as a man, especially when it comes to the dynamic of building a family, because it's no longer about you no more. Now you have a responsibility and moral obligation to other people who depend on you. So you can't just go out there and live however you want to live, because it's going to affect the people you love and care about and that depend on you as well, especially your kids and your family. So yeah, I just thought about that when you brought that up. Why core values and principles is important, because we do have a nature as a man, but I think the core values and principles keeps us grounded. I think you mentioned that before. Keeps us in control, and also keeps us make sure that it doesn't it doesn't beat up everything that destroy our lives that we worked so hard to build. I'll pass it back to you guys if you guys want to add on.
I'll just
go ahead, man.
I'll just say, like, pretty much what Will's saying. Just like, I'm just gonna add another thing. It keeps you in alignment. You know, when you have that foundation. That's where you were going and hitting on. It's like, no matter what, when you have a foundation, a strong foundation, and an ethical and moral compass, no matter what happens in life, no matter how much money you get, you'll still be in alignment with that, or you should be. I'll speak on Diddy's situation quickly. I think it's sad to see somebody, especially a black man, just because I understand, that struggle in a sense when you're operating in a world predominantly people don't look like you, and passing multiple barriers to make it to the level that he's made it to. It's unfortunate that he made it to a level where he had like fuck you money, and he kind of like and not just fuck you money, fuck you resources, to where he exercised it to the point where, like Paulo said, the past, may come back to haunt you. And like you were saying, Will, no matter how much great you've done, if your legacy ends on a tail end, that's what you're going to be remembered for. Yeah. So I think that's really sad that after all the hard work and hours he's put in, the people he's put on, the people that he's not put on, regardless, this is a major, hopefully he didn't do the things that they're accusing him of doing. And this will be a blemish on his career, but no one knows. As more information comes out, then, the public will be the judge, the jury, and all of that. So I think that's unfortunate to see that somebody can make it to a certain level and have it all essentially taken away from him because, you know, his kids did nothing wrong to be in handcuffs on national television, breaking news, you know, when like at the same time we had the Quiet on Set dude who was doing all types of crazy things to Nickelodeon stars, and we see P. Diddy's name dragged in the mud versus this other guy.
But let me I want to piggyback off of something Will said. I think control works because, you know, when you were breaking it down from that perspective, Will, even though we gotta reach those peaks, whether we're pushing ourselves to the limits,
Yeah.
control is very important because even in like wartime situations, that's why companies, our countries developed the like Geneva Convention, so we don't step out of the realm of like, you know, to savagery and going back to old times. And, you know, just even in corporate setting, all of us are successful guys and pushed ourselves to that limits. But just even knowing you guys, we're the type of people like we excelled, but not, you know, stabbing somebody in the back, undercutting people, conniving. It's just like one of those things we probably looked at it, you know, just I know how I am. So I know you guys are pretty much aligned where it's just like, you know what? I would just work a little harder versus like take any of those type of tactics and stuff. So I definitely like when you were breaking down control because it's like, man, you still have like a little bit of that animal nature, but
we do.
You don't have to step over them lines where you're like destroying other people to get what you want or destroying your legacy in that process. So I definitely like when you was talking about control.
And also just to add on to what something that Manning said about Diddy, you said that it's going to be a blemish to his career. For me personally, I don't really care about a blemish in my career. I think for me, the most important thing is a blemish to my character as a man, because that's all I got. You can remove, if I lost everything tomorrow and had to restart from scratch from the bottom, all I got is my values and principles and my character. And that's all I need. That's all I need to rebuild myself up. And I think that's what's most disheartening and disappointing about what's happening with Diddy, because, you know, I'm not concerned about the career and the accolades. It's just for him is his character as a man is going to be blemished to a point that's going to be defining who he is. And we talked about self-identity. Paulo Festa brought that up. You know, that's going to be part of his identity of what people perceive him to be. Because as a man, we're going to go through our ups and downs. Everybody on this panel have gone through ups and downs, have built success, have lost success. But I truly believe the things that we learn over time, that we can build out, that we can always bounce back up is the core values and principles and the character that we have as men. And if we lost everything today, I'm pretty confident all you guys on this panel, because of your character, because of your morals and values that you guys have, I'm pretty confident you guys will bounce back up and get back on track. But if you sacrifice the character and your values and principles to achieve success, and I think those are the types of men it's really hard to bounce back, because sometimes consequences, laws, things they do will come back to them, and it's really hard to build yourself back up as a man if you're the type of person people don't want to trust, people don't want to work with, and people don't want to believe in, not only the people at the workplace but also the family, right? Your wife, your kids. You know, that's a harder hurdle to overcome. To overcome that, to build the trust of people that depend on you or relied on you, or you build a relationship with more than the success and the accolades. Yeah, that's the most disheartening. I think that's the biggest hurdle for people who destroy their legacy and blemish their character, because you can always make money, but to gain trust from people that once believed in you because you did something that's crossed the moral boundaries and the moral code of conduct between men and women, that's something that's really, really hard to overcome and bounce back from. But I'll pass it back to you guys.
Dame Dollar.
Dame.
What's up, man? Sorry, Blake, man. I had some shit to take care of.
Yeah, but I'll pass it to you, Dame.
Well, read me in, because I wasn't watching the show. I literally came in from outside and sat down in the seat to jump on and rock out with you guys. So what we? I know I got the gist that we were talking about Diddy's situation and the fact that knock to his character and his reputation is probably irreparably damaged and stuff like that.
Yeah, we were
But
just
what?
talking about Diddy as an example that came up with the
Okay.
conversation. But the topic we're discussing tonight, Damon, is why are a man's core values and principles essential to the development of his masculinity? And then just to give you some context, in the beginning, one of the things that this is why we're having this conversation, but oftentimes you see in the space, a lot of times what they define a good, strong, masculine, high value man is based on his successes, right? If you make money, you're a good man. If you get success with women, you're a good man. If you're in shape, you're a good man. And a lot of times these guys find themselves achieving those outcomes, but they still find a loss of purpose or they still struggle within themselves of the eternal battles with themselves, but also still when you talk about relationships, they find themselves, they still, even with all the success they achieved, they still struggle with their relationships, especially when it comes to building a family and women. So I think that's where the core values and principles comes in. You know, a lot of guys have a lot of money, but they can't lead. You know,
Yeah.
they can't lead women, they can't lead themselves. So I'll pass it back to you. And that's how we got into the Diddy situation. But what's your opening thoughts about why is it, you know, we understand, and I'm not taking away, it is important for men to be successful. It is important for men to be the finances, to be fit, to be able to know how to communicate with women. Those are important skills that we need to use as a man to get the outcomes we want. But why do you think outside of that, why is your core values and principles more important than those outcomes?
I mean, because it kind of just shapes your reality. It's just one of those things. Like, you can live, your reality is shaped by the things that you hold true and hold dear. A lot of times, if you're smart, those things are productive things that add to your character instead of diminish your character. It's like, you know, it was this rocking out with you guys helped me define a lot of the things that I always kind of felt. But it just kind of like put it into words, like, you know, be resilient, disciplined, and accountable. You know, those are the things that I kind of knew. I felt that made a strong man and made a strong leader and was a good representation of masculinity in my life. But you know, I think those are the things that kind of sets the tone for how the world view you and they approach you. You know, I really feel like if somebody knows how you rock and you stand on things, and you're about something, it's harder for them to kind of like push you off your square and get you spun into bullshit. If you have a solid foundation that's your guiding principles on how you move in the world, you know. And I think those are the things that take a longer time to develop. Anybody can make money. You know, there's a million different ways to get money. It's assholes making money on YouTube pranking each other. So, you know, it used to be that money, you had to have a certain amount of discipline and accountability and respect in your industry in order to be successful. But now, like I said, anything can make money. Anybody can make money. So that's no longer a test that you have any type of real value.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's to kind of piggyback off the Diddy thing. He's a perfect example. I now see why you guys kind of segued into the Diddy thing. He was a guy who, on surface level, all intents and purposes, had, you know, was very admired and respected and idolized. A lot of people thought that, you know, they wanted to live like him and be like him. And they kind of say he set the gold standard of where you are if you're successful in his industry. And now they can see the rug's been pulled out from them. And it was like, there's something, now you need to have more substance to you in order to retain that respect and that admiration, other than just, and it needs to go, not just be surface level, it needs to go deeper as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Damien. Anybody want to add on before I ask you guys the next question, the topic?
Yeah, just real quick. Dame hit a good point where he was saying, like, you know, so many people are getting money nowadays. And I think that's true, where you know, it's almost like people have to have even more discernment in how they can pick out those like characteristics, qualities, or men that have like standards, values, and stuff, because it's easy for somebody to put on a good exterior, you know, that costume and stuff, you know, going out there and stuff. And if people only see like that surface level and, you know, are attracted to the money and the status, you know, it's easy for people to get, you know, sucked in, manipulated and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I thought that was a good point that Dane brought up.
Yeah, people don't correlate like money with competency anymore. They just correlate it with, because now it's so easy to get. It used to be the competent people were the people who made the higher earnings or were successful in their industry and made more money. Now it's, you can be the most incompetent asshole and you can make $1 million a month on YouTube. And it's just, so people have, it's lost its cachet when it comes to like, you know, you must have something of value. Even like, for example, I don't want to turn this into a political thing. People think Trump is smart because he made a lot of money. You know, that's the kind of situation. That's the kind of mind frame people have. It's just like people think if you make money, you must be intelligent, you must be smart, you must be competent. But all the people are seeing all the curtain has been pulled away, and people can see what's behind it, how the sausage is made, and it's not as good as people thought it was.
All right. Yeah, my question I want to ask you guys on the topic, because I know pretty soon the ladies are going to jump on. And as always, good to see you, MZ Carol 626. Always appreciate you guys on the live chat. Thank you so much as always. Let's get the live chat popping. You know, I do see some viewership people watching them right now. But don't be a ninja watcher, man. Don't be a creep. You know, say something on the live chat. I just like your feedback. But I appreciate you guys. Get those likes up. And but definitely, if you want to jump on as a virtual guest, the link is in the description. The question I want to ask you guys on the panel: what are your core values and principles that you live by? But also, can you explain to me why is that important to a man? And the reason why I ask that question, because I think it's important for men to understand why is it important for us to have core values and principles, because I believe we are, because I know we live in a society today, egalitarian society, that men have been told that we're equal, that we're the same as women. But in reality, the reason why it's important for us to have core values and principles, because we are men, and we have a different role that we play in society. Paul Fessa brought this up a long time ago on the podcast. You know, as men, we are the sacrificial sex. We in society, we are seen to be the providers and protectors. So regardless, that is why for me, it's important for us to have core values and principles, because the role we play in society, especially when it comes to relationship dynamics with women, it's different because we're men. It's not the same as how women play and what society expects from women. So core values and principles is important, because when we start families, you know, you are going to be in a leadership position. You know, that is why it's important for you to have core values and principles. And I think Manny Gabalo, you said this on the previous podcast. Rules are for what, followers, or I can't remember.
Yeah, rules are for followers.
Yeah, rules are for followers, and leaders. I can't remember the last part of the
leaders lead. Yeah,
leaders lead, right? So if you're a leader, if you are going to set the tone in the direction of that relationship, or for the direction of whatever you want to go with your life, it has to be based on your values and principles, right? So if you don't have any core values and principles as a leader, then what's going to happen? You're going to just follow the herd and do what everybody else does, or follow what your woman does. So if you want to be a provider protector, being providing and protecting is a role that's going to be sacrificial. You know, when it comes, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, you have to defend your family. So these are things. That's why it's important for us to have core values and principles as men, because the reality is our value as men is only going to be defined by the contribution of what we provide to society and protect. That is the life and the journey of men, and what society and what women expect of men. So that is why it's important for you guys to develop core values and principles to make you become strong, competent, good leaders, because if you want to optimize the life you've been given as a man, those are the things that you need to do to get the best outcomes you want, especially when it comes to your personal success, but also your relationship. If you don't have any core values and principles, to make sure that you become a great leader, to be a great provider, protector, to become a man that adds value and contributes to society. If you're not that type of man, and a lot of men have gone down that path, what they realize that is a very hard, lonely, desperate path for a lot of guys. If you don't have any value to give to society, if you can't be a man that you can depend on and be a strong leader, whether it's for your people that you love and care about, whether it's for yourself, or whether it's the profession that you work with, or you're a weak man. You know, you're not somebody that's strong enough to fight for something. You're just a type of man that you could be pushed around. Guys who don't have strong core values and principles to become good, strong men, these are the guys that we see that often complain and often complain about the lack of results and the lack of things that they find or meaning or purpose that they find in their lives. So that is why, for me, is the accountability, resiliency, and discipline. That is why that's something that I hold it to my life to the extreme, because all those three qualities, anything that all those three qualities optimizes it and gives me the results I want, not only for my personal success as a man, but also my role as a man to how what I provide to society, but also when it comes to my relationship dynamics with the women I interact with, especially when it comes to something I want to go into long term. Accountability, resiliency, and discipline always benefits me in everything that comes to my life as a man. So yeah, I just want to pass it to you guys. I see the ladies jumping on. Ladies, good to see you, Amber and Nicole. I just want to ask you guys, what is your core values? Just keep it simple. What is your core values that you live by, and why is that important for a man to have? For you, why is it important for you to have that core value as a man? I'll start with you, if you don't mind. I'll start with you, Paulo. What's your core values, and then why is it for you as a man to have that core value?
So core values and core principles are two things that are very similar but are quite different. So core values are the things that you adhere to. It's like the shiny things that you want to display. So it's a version of who you are that you want to be. So that's why core values are in place. Core principles are the guidelines that gives you at least a metric of how to achieve those things. My core values are accountability, resilience, and discipline. Accountability starts with decision. Discipline keeps you in the motion of your framework, and resilience build up the calluses that is required for a man to take on life's chaos. My principles are very, very simple, and I've done a few things to at least make them a little bit more presentable in some way. So the first one is start with the intent to finish. Commitment knows no halfway point. And the second one is half-hearted efforts sabotage potential. Wholehearted dedication fuels success. And essentially, in layman's term, is if you start it, finish it. If you don't give it your all, don't start it at all.
All right. Thank you so much, Paulo Fessa. Nicole, Amber, thank you for jumping on. I'll definitely come to you guys, and appreciate you for making the time. Definitely have a great show planned for you guys, but I'll pass it to you, fellas. I'll start with you, Joe. Joe, what are your core values and principles you want to share, and why is it important for you as a man to have those core values and principles?
As far as my core values as of right now in this very moment, I would say Paul Fessa brought up a good detail earlier before, was developing an identity. For those that know my past, I come from the construction world, and I transitioned into technology. And so I struggled a lot with the whole entire, what's it called? Imposter syndrome. Not having the right identity for what I was dealing with at the time. And on top of that, being extremely ambitious in my field and surpassing a lot of these 10-year people. So I think it gets to a point where the reason why I look at my core value as of right now that I'm currently working on as developing that identity is because, you know, it gets to a point where if you're a hyper ambitious individual, especially whether you be chasing the actual career or the money itself, there's going to be a time in your career where you kind of have to, nobody's going to be there to check you, and you have to check yourself. There's been a lot of times where, you know, I've been able to come to the panel with some of my worries of the path that I'm going down, because there's not a lot of men like us. And so that's the reason why I'll turn to you guys. But at the same time, I also have to be, I have to have that ethical framework with myself to be able to tell myself, okay, like, look, if you're going to be doing this, you need to be able to, complete XYZ, whatever it may be. And checking myself has been a really interesting lesson, to say the least, over the past year. And so I would say, as of right now, my center core value is going to be developing my identity still, especially inside of my field. But other than that, just the staples of masculine mind, having accountability, having resilience, and still being disciplined inside everything that I do. And that also will coincide to the ethical frameworks that I set aside for myself, so that way I'll be able to check myself once I get to that point, if need be.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that, Joe. Pass it to you, Manic. Simple. What's your core values and principles that you live by in your day-to-day life, and why is that important for you as a man to have those core values and principles?
Well, when you first asked the question, I was going to use the two, but after hearing Paulo's definition of the two, I'm like, damn, now I got to switch things up, because I actually do agree with that. They are different. So this is my attempt. When I say core values, I would say it stems from discipline, consistency, and introspection, because and grace. And I give a lot of people grace, and I'm a little bit harder on myself because I know what I'm capable of. I know what I've been through, and I have certain experiences that other people just haven't. And there's things that other people would have just folded, that I've overcome, and that's just through honestly my faith and belief that shit that's bad is a lesson. You got to learn from it. So that jumps right into like my principles, and my core principle is just to embrace the gifts that I've been blessed with. I'm a very quick learner, so oftentimes I'll give people pushback on points that I actually agree with, but it'll be because I'll see a hole in it and I want them to explain it, and then maybe we can go back and forth and fine tune it. Like it's rare, but this podcast is definitely one of the ones that I do it with a lot, because iron does sharpen iron. And when I go to other podcasts, these motherfuckers are not iron, so it's like my pushback turns into a defensive debate and argument, and it's just unproductive for the lifestyle in which I like to live, because I'm all about learning. So circling back to principles, it's really about learning for me, and adding some fun. Like I said, I embrace the gifts I was given. I'm a fun loving guy, and I have a little bit of fuckery to me, and I like to sprinkle a little bit of that in there with my like natural asshole nature. So don't take shit I say too hard, because I'm just having fun.
Sound pretty combative to me.
I'm very combative. You already know this.
Yeah, the asshole nature, that's only to you, not for men in general.
Yeah, that's only to me. Yeah. I said I embrace the gifts. Like one of the gifts I was given was to be an asshole. So I have to like step into that, or I'd be doing everyone a disservice.
All right. But thank you, Matic. I'll pass it to you, Jerk and Damien, and I'll come to you, ladies, Carmen, Amber. Thank you, and Nicole. Appreciate you guys jumping on for tonight's show. But Jerk, simple. What's your core values and principles you live by, and then why is that important to you?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. My core values, like I said before, excellence, not perfection. And what I mean by excellence, it's always like pushing through anything. And if you want to be a leader, you got to lead by example. So it's like, man, you always got to walk that like narrow path. Other people are watching you. And I would say my other core value is legacy. Because, once I have my son, it's like I had to get rid of a lot of desires and other kind of bullshit, because it ties into like leading by example and stuff. So, I'll say those are the two things that kind of keep me on that tight and narrow. And then like Paulo laid out, principles are those action items to get you to those, end results that you want. So it's like I said, those are the action items that you do to execute, to get to that long goal that you have. But that's pretty much it, Will.
All right. Thank you, Jerk. Appreciate it. Pass it to you, Damien. Go ahead, Damon.
Yeah. I thought about this a lot when I was younger and stuff like that. I had a really good dad that like really we had these good conversations about this kind of stuff. And one of the things that I always wanted to strive for was utility. I always wanted to be useful. Like there's an old saying, there's nothing more worthless than a chair holds more value than a useless man. That was the saying that they said in my house. That chair sitting over there has more value than a useless man. I never wanted to be useless. I wanted to be always useful to the circles that I'm in. I want to provide some form of utility pretty consistently. Also is fidelity. Fidelity to everything that's important. I feel like it's only when you're faithful to things that you accomplish things. Like the people who aren't faithful to anything in their life, it usually doesn't end in the result that they want, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your job, whether it's your art, whether it's your whatever your passion is. If you're not faithful to it, a lot of times it won't go anywhere and it'll just be a waste of energy. And the next was discipline. I always feel like you got, in order to make sure that you're on right track with those other two, you got to be pretty disciplined in yourself. You got to hold yourself to a higher standard and make sure that you're always checking in with yourself to make sure that you are always on the right path of where you want to go, and disciplined enough to weed out all the distractions that may try to derail you from the path you're trying to get to. So those were some of the three ones. I hang rocking with you guys. I definitely had a resilience and what was the third one? Resilience and
accountability.
Accountability. Yeah. That was the other one that I definitely agree with as well. And the reason that it means so much to me, it was just like, it's a conversation. It always go back to the conversation I had with my dad. It was like, he was like, one of these days, I got 3 sons, or 4 sons. And one of these days, you guys are going to put me in the ground. And when you look down, I want you to say, there's a man in that hole. And that's what I feel like. I got 2 sons and a daughter. I was like, when those boys put me in the ground, I want to be like that. My dad was a man in every aspect that you can judge a man as a man. So that's kind of the goal that I have for myself. And, society is going to be what it is. To me, it's what the legacy I live and the example I set for my children, men, my boys, like how they should kind of rock in the world, and my daughter, how to weed out, useless, undisciplined, unfaithful guys out of their life, and just get with really solid guys. I'm going to set example of what a real man should be like. So those were why it's been important to me.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Damien. But ladies, Carmen, Amber, Nicole, good to see you guys.
Hey.
Look at Carmen with the cornrows and the earpiece, looking like she working at AT&T. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I want to ask a question to the ladies real quick, because Damien brought this up. I'm just interested from my curiosity. Amber, Nicole, and Carmen, do you guys know any men who are useless?
Like, yeah.
I'd probably say I knew of a lot of people.
Like personally, do you know any useless men, like personally, that you have a great relationship with? Useless men.
I would say no, because I'm very selective on the people that I have in my circle.
Okay, Amber said no. And then Nicole, do you know any useless men you have a great relationship with?
It's true, about to
Not
jump
that I
off
have a great
she was like about to hit the button like she was on a game show.
Is there a limit?
Not that I have any great relationships with. No, I don't associate myself with useless people in general.
Okay, all right.
Why?
Okay, and then Carmen, do you know any useless men you have a great relationship with?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, I just asked that question for the reality of, if you're useless, you're invisible, in society. So for all the guys out there. But ladies, I'm gonna pass it to you guys. So the topic we're discussing tonight, core values and principles. We're talking about why it's important for a man to have good, strong core values and principles that he lives by, that he stands by for himself. And it'd be interesting to get your perspective from the female perspective, because the reason why we're talking about this, one of the things that we see online for a lot of women, I'm sorry, not for women, but for men, the message that they see online is often to be considered a good man, to be considered a high value man. Just make money, you'd be good. You'd be a good man. Just get fit, you'd be a good man. Be good in bed, you'd be a good man. So a lot of times, these are the qualities a lot of girls will go for. They'll go with the guy who has money. They'll go with the guy that's good in bed, or they'll go with the guy that's physically attractive. But a lot of women would still complain about the lack of strong, healthy relationships with these guys. So these guys have the money, they have the looks, they have the game, but for some reason, women align themselves with these men, and they still find hard to build a good, strong, committed relationship with these guys. And that's the conversation we're having tonight. That's also a reflection of how society is today, especially with modern relationships. It's a lot of superficial stuff, but we want to go deeper. But what I want to pass it to you later. What's your perspective, or what do you see? Do a lot of men, do they still live by? Do they still have good core values and principles that they live by? That they expectations that they put on you, on the relationship, and things that they carry themselves of how they move and how they lead themselves as men. Do you find yourself with the type of men that you experience in your life that still live by core values and principles, or do you find yourselves with the type of men that you still experience in your life more similar to the type of things that we see in the internet? Guys just trying to make money. They think that just making money, being good with women, or also just being attractive, that's all they need for themselves to be able to build a good, long-term, healthy relationship with you guys. So that's our conversation tonight. So I want to hear from what you guys have to say as females. I'll start with you, Nicole. What's your perspective on that?
It just reminds me of that quote, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Okay.
A lot of men now, they are just trying to flex. They want you to see how much money they have, how important they are. So if they're important to the world, they must be important to you, right? I feel like there's not much value. What I have personally experienced, not much value. It's always what you see on the surface, and once you get into it, there's no depth. Because I've dated men that are in my gorgeous, like, oh my God. And then there's just nothing. There's no depth. There's no soul. There's no conversation. There's no only thing they're worried about is their perception online or to everyone around them.
Okay.
That's been my experience in the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole.
Can I just say one thing?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You said you dated a man with no soul, which is dating the Grim Reaper.
What'd you say?
I said you dated a man. He's like, oh, he just look great, but just no soul. It's like
just no oomph. No, there's just nothing there.
Was he a demon?
They're like, I'm good looking, but I can't, read a book.
Oh, so he had a soul. It just was not a smart one.
I don't think I didn't mean like soulless, but
okay.
Just no depth.
That's what you meant. Like he was just like
no depth.
No depth though. But
the lights was on, but no one was home.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you didn't know that when you like first initially talked to him? That wasn't like apparent?
Honestly, the way my lifestyle is these days, I don't have the bigger opportunity to go out. I don't go out.
But I'm just saying, like a conversation, you couldn't tell like that he didn't have any depth from a simple conversation.
From a simple conversation, but once you do try to get in depth, there really isn't anything there.
And then you still dated him though?
No.
Oh, okay. You said you dated a guy
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Dated. You go on a date. You dated. Yes.
Okay, we have different definitions.
I'm not saying. Okay, well, gone out on a date with.
Oh yeah.
Be more specific.
Okay, that makes sense. You test it out, like,
Yes.
okay, let me see
No.
if this is an opportunity, and you're like, okay, nothing up there. Got it. Yeah.
There we
go. Okay,
All
Yeah.
right.
that's it.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole. I'll pass it to you, Amber. Amber, what's your perspective when it comes to men's core values and principles of how they move today? Is that what you see, or it's more just the fluff that we see online?
I definitely think there's a good amount of both. I have a lot of experience with both, just like it's been previously mentioned. There's a lot of, I would say, especially the younger crowd, a lot of people that are really shallow into looks and don't have any substance, personality, or anything of that nature. And it's kind of easy to filter out those people because usually they're just too focused on themselves or their looks. And you can kind of tell when someone's interested in you by if they're asking questions about you, trying to get to know you, or they just want to talk about themselves all the time. But I've also had good experiences where I meet a lot of good men. There are good men out there. They have good values, their perspective on things. Those guys you usually meet without any expectation, right? It's just, it's a lot with the mindset. If you believe all men are shit, that's what you're going to attract. You're going to see all the shitty men and come across them. So when you open up your perspective and say, there are good guys out there, I just need to run into them, your surroundings start changing and they start aligning with what you're saying, because words definitely have power, and especially your own words, it definitely has a huge effect on the things happening around you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that, Amber. I'll pass it to you, Carmen. Definitely dig in the braids. Carmen, good to see you again. But what's your perspective when it comes to men having good, strong values, morals, and principles that they live by and they have standards? Is that something that you see, or is it just more superficial with the things that we see online?
Well, you mean like when you say something that I see personally, like people that I've met on
Yeah.
the street, or
Yeah, you interact with.
yeah. Well, are we not including you guys? I'm just kidding.
Go ahead. Like,
Not including us.
we don't run from nothing. Go ahead.
Carmen came for war today. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. You got
Turn
the
up,
braids
Carmen.
ready. Like,
Mm.
seriously.
I mean, now that I'm
You got
here,
Amanda
like 5
Nunez
weeks
up in
in a
here with
row.
the
Hold
braids.
on.
Mm.
I don't know if you want to go to war with the masculine mindset. The braids might be a little too tight.
Well, let me be honest with you guys. So I think I've been talking as for groups of men. You guys have been the people that I've been consistently talking to within the past month and a half. As far as like in the outside world, actually, I mean, this includes like my clients, because I do have clients that are men who are married, who I think they're great guys. And I don't think it's just an online thing. I think it's real. I think it's out there. I think most of them are taken. But as far as like the other half, the other side of the men who are inconsistent, I think that it has to also do with the women who they deal with, right? Like we help breed that as well. Like we help keep that going. So there is a part of us that we should be responsible for. Like if we let some guy be some douche and we don't say anything, that's like on us. It's if we're being led by that guy who's so cute and he has great D and we just can't let go of the D. Like, girl, you weak. You're a weak woman, and so there's weak women walking around here letting that happen. But it's
Boosting that
vice versa
ego.
too. It's vice versa too. There's women out here who thinks they're, shit don't stink, and here's these guys falling at their feet, but I think it's like a 50-50, and I think it depends on the circle that you run with. So
Fair enough. All right. And then a quick question to the ladies, and I'll pass it back to the fellas. If you want to add on to anything or respond to the ladies. What are principles or values that men have that you find extremely attractive for the type of men that you want to go into with long term, the type of man that you would respect, and the type of man you would look up to be the type of man to be leading you and your family? So we talked about money, success, physical attractiveness. God is good in sex, good with sex. A lot of women find themselves with those types of men, but they find themselves lacking. I think Nicole, you said depth, right? So what have you
100%.
learned? So what have you learned in your experience? Sometimes, I tried to date this man because he had money. I tried to date this man because he was attractive. I tried to date this man because he was good sexually. But then when you came long term, you realized that he was lacking in something in depth. And what did you realize? Okay, the type of men, when it comes to a long term committed relationship, what you found was these certain values, men who have these values, not only is attractive, but also beneficial to maintain the relationship between you and him. And if I want to ask you guys, what are those traits? What are those traits or the values that you saw that you found not only you attracted to these men, you respect these men, but you also realize that it also benefits the relationship for you guys to build something good long term. And if you just any traits in mind or any principles in mind, now this guy just the way he conducted himself, he moved this way, he acted this way, or whatever that value of that principle is. If you just want to share that real quick, then I'll pass it to the fellas if they want to respond. Anything that comes to mind in your experience? I'll start with you, Nicole.
I think the most attractive thing for me is consistency.
Okay.
You are consistent in who you say you are. Your values don't change on a day-to-day basis based on your mood. Basically, you are who you say you are. Because I think with me, once you get to know me, what you see is what you get. And I am who I am every day. And that doesn't change no matter who I'm in front of. So if we're in a group, I've been in this instance where everything's going great. We're starting to meet each other's, circles, but then you're in front of their circle and that's a completely different person. That is a huge turnoff because you're not the same person in front of them as you are in front of me. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So consistency in who you are and being real to who you are, that is one of the biggest things for me. Trust also. If I can trust you when I'm away or if I'm there, if you have my back while I'm not there, that's what's up. That's what's real.
Okay.
You can tell me about it later if you didn't agree with me, but you have my back in the public too.
Okay.
So I'm just going to clarify. So
Right.
if you are wrong, you don't want him to correct you in front at the time you're being wrong. You want him to wait till it's another time to like.
I
hey,
mean,
you're
if
being
we're in sync and if you think I'm wrong, you're gonna give me a signal, right? But if it's really something, we could talk about it later. But I don't think you disrespect your wife or your girlfriend or whomever in front of a group of people. No.
Yeah, I agree with you on the not disrespecting part, but that's like a contradiction if you want somebody to stay consistent the whole time and then you say, hey, but when we're around in public, let's not be consistent. So it's just like you kind of can't have both. Either you want the consistency.
No, I don't think that has anything to do with each other at all whatsoever.
Nah, I agree with her because I think whenever you're out facing in a public, I'm gonna give you an example. Like I just had a meeting, and one of my staff members was completely wrong in the meeting, but I was in there. I was like, yeah, no, she's right. I was like backing it up. As soon as we left the meeting, I was like, you're dumb as shit. I was like, you're completely wrong, but I was gonna throw you under the bus. So I think. You have your people's back. You could address them afterwards. So I see
United front.
Yeah. You go in there and you're like, look,
I agree.
But be the same to me in public as you are to me at home.
Yeah.
Don't go into your crowd of friends and treat me poorly or boast or whatever the case may be.
You want authenticity. You want
front.
somebody to be their authentic self. You want to make sure you're getting 100% of the true who they really are.
100%.
But one of the things that's it's difficult is because, I just don't. Is it like to go to Manic's point? Is it authentic if I don't rock with like if you're doing something that is wrong? Like there's a difference if you say, hey, something is and you're just mistaken. That's different, than you're like I've had couples and I've known that they've been cool couples, but I knew that the husband was lying about something and the wife just kind of went along with it, and she begrudgingly kind of went along with it. And I'm like, it doesn't fool anybody, and it kind of makes you look inauthentic, like you're trying to avoid to know that somebody is going along with something that they obviously don't agree with. I just hope I would hope that you would just want somebody who was respectful and didn't embarrass you about it. Just say, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
like, you know,
but I don't put myself in those situations anyway. So
yeah, you don't go anywhere.
To Dame's point, I don't think telling you you're wrong, you know, and I agree with the whole united front, but you know, there's nuance that you can let somebody know that they're wrong, and then, you know, without embarrassing them. So to Dame's point, I think it's more of the respect that you want because you can't have consistency and want somebody to be truthful to you, but lie for the united front. You can.
I'm not talking about lying to anybody. What I'm saying is
not lying, but being authentic and authentic to what their values and what they believe in.
No, I don't think that's the same of what I was talking about, but
yeah, it's more like a loyalty thing. Because I'm loyal, so I'm never gonna throw any, like, me and Manic know each other in real life. So it's like if he was doing, I'm gonna pull him to the side. Like I'm never gonna anybody I'm cool with, I'm not gonna throw you in a pit in front of people. Like that's a conversation we can have on the side. So I think that's more or less what she said.
I think her point was more of like, don't be all lovey-dovey to make it seem like you are trying to plan, like you're feeling a certain way about me, and then switch up when you're friends and make it seem like, you know, we barely know each other, you know, kind of situation. I get what you said. I kind of think that's where you were going for it, but then it kind of monkey branched into, if you lie in front of people, you know, am I
right? No, I'm not talking about telling truth and telling lies. No.
Okay.
So for example, Miss True, say like if you was wrong and I put you to the side, like, look, you're wrong as shit. You're cool with that, but just it's like you ain't got to dress me in front of everybody type of thing. Like, hey,
you don't want the guy that's gonna be like, look, she always wrong.
What the fuck you're talking about?
Right? No, exactly.
Yeah,
okay,
I got you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So be a chameleon in front of certain, you know, public settings. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not what you said.
The asshole's definitely coming out tonight, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right over your head. No, it's good.
No, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Nicole. I'll pass it to you. Pass it to you, Amber. Amber, yeah, same thing. What are values and principles that you found in men that you feel not only you find attractive, but you also respect and realize that it's something that's going to benefit the relationship long term for you and them?
Definitely being able to adapt. I say that just not for himself, but because, you know, when he's able to have cores and values that make himself better and he's trying to, you know, get married or find a woman, he should be able to adapt into that mindset. You know, and then when you have kids, being able to adapt to those different situations, because if someone's not able to grow in that way, it just makes a relationship hard. You know, if I'm in one place in my life and then, you know, he's still stuck in the place where I met him versus not being able to grow with me in life, I feel like that definitely puts a hinder on a relationship. So being able to adapt in that way is really important. Definitely loyalty. That's a really big one too. You know, for obvious, being able to be loyal to me, to family, to himself. It's just one of the things that I find really important. You know, I feel like the things that I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I'm kind of stuck on words right now. You know, I'll just say it. Those are definitely the top two for me. I'll just skip the third one because I'm kind of stuck on my words right now.
Okay. Yeah, just the adapt one. I think that sounds for me when you listed it, it sounds more like accountability. That a man, that whatever happens in this relationship, whatever problem, whatever situation, he's willing to take accountability for it and take care of it, and take responsibility for it. Okay.
Sounded like ambition too, a little bit.
Yeah,
resilience.
Hitting a lot of good points.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you it's defined perfectly, because you know, I don't want a man out there to come up to you. I'm adaptive.
Yeah, she'd be like, what the hell does that mean?
Exactly.
And me being stuck on my words with you guys chiming in, that's kind of what I was trying to go in the third sense as well, like things that he can focus on himself and transition as a family man as well. So you kind of helped me out there.
Yeah, accountability. Yeah, that's a lot better word. Yeah, accountability. But thank you, Amber. All right, loyalty and accountability and then consistency. And then Nicole, what was the second one, Nicole? Consistency and
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Got it.
AT&T.
And trust. Oh yeah, trust. Nicole said trust. All right. I'll pass it to you, Carmen. Same question. What are the principles and qualities and values you find in men that that you're attracted to, you respect them in also, but you also know that builds a strong, healthy, long-term relationship?
Yeah. The first thing that came to my mind was integrity. I think I mentioned this a couple podcasts ago about like he and we represent each other when we're not around each other. So what we do and say when we're not in each other's presence is important. So integrity is really important, which I also believe in. It comes from karma. I believe in karma. And, she is like, I feel like she's watching me all the time, so she's definitely punished me for things that I wasn't supposed to do, so I believe in integrity a whole lot. Say what?
Karma is definitely a she.
Oh, yo, really close to Carmen. You know what I'm saying? Hold on.
Very similar. I caught on that. I didn't want to say nothing though.
Very close. I think consistency is a good one as well, especially within home life and work life. Like if you're ambitious in the work life, I feel like you should be ambitious in your personal life as well. So being able to be consistent in those fronts, like if you're very passionate about this, you should also be passionate about that. And team player, being able to work as a unit, because some people are very like this, I'm set in my ways and this is going to be it. And it's going to be my way or the highway. So I definitely would like someone who's a team player and is willing to be in the unit together and take my ideas as well and put them to work. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Carmen. When you said it's my way to highway, sounds like a good leader to me.
Sounds like a dictator.
But we'll go together on this highway. We'll move together on this highway that I'm going to go on. But Carmen, thank you for sharing. But I just want to pass it back to the fellas. Anything you want to add on to what the ladies said, especially the type of values and they mentioned? Go ahead, to pass it back to you guys.
I'll just make it really quick. I really liked what Amber said, that with the team player, because that's something you don't hear too common, but that really speaks to the dynamic of any relationship.
That was Carmen, right?
Yeah,
Carmen. You said team player.
Yeah, Carmen. That's what I said, right?
Yeah.
You said Amber.
I said
Amber.
Amber was like, I'm gonna give my props.
No. I meant to say Carmen. I'm sorry.
I said adapt.
Yeah. I got what you said. Adaptability and loyalty. Like I liked what you said too. But I haven't really heard people say team player, and that's like, that is such a central concept of any relationship that's successful, because I feel that in any relationship, it's two unique individuals, and if somebody is talented in an area, you should try to maximize that talent. And being a team player is recognizing that, hey, sometimes as a man, you have to listen and understand that maybe you don't have the best knowledge in this particular field, and you need to listen. You need to take a step back and hear what your woman has to say, because you might be leading the whole collective into a path that's not optimal. So being a team player, making someone feel appreciated and purposeful, that's important for longevity. That's it.
All right, thank you, Manny.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I definitely agree, because a lot of times, like, none of us on the panel, we definitely give praise to, the women we're with are, intelligent women, but you hear a lot of guys where it's just like, they're speaking on dictatorship moving forward. And if we're being honest, everybody don't always have great ideas. So I think a smart person, even a good leader, is gonna surround himself with like, you know, capable people. So when you should be finding like a spouse, it should be somebody that has some intelligence, because even, you know, whatever the dynamic you want to choose for your household, but that's the person a lot of times that's going to be like raising your kids, you know, pumping those standards, those values into them. So, you know, a lot of times when people are just like, oh, I'll mess with this type of female, and they're not considering like the intelligence, it's to me, it's dumb. You know, you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's just like, you do have to open yourself up for new ideas, because just to be honest, I don't have the answer for everything. And I've just always been the type of person where it's like, you humble yourself. And if you truly, you know, like vetted somebody out properly, they're supposed to come in there and help you out with those blind spots. And I like what some of y'all were saying. It's just like, I think it was you, Carmen, where you were saying that person's a representation of you when you're not around. So, you know, they got your back, you know, they're should be like protecting you at all costs, vice versa, you know. So I definitely like what you guys were saying, like with the teamwork and consistency and all that. And even Miss True, it's like, because, you know, with the loyalty thing, it's just like, hey, you know, there's ways that you approach certain things. So across the board, yeah, I think y'all have some great points.
Okay.
Amber said loyalty.
Yeah, just quickly add on to Jerk, you know, what defines a good leader, one of the hallmarks of a good leader, I would even go as far as say great, is that he's a master of delegation. And, you know, within relationship as men, the admission of things that we're not specialized in is the exact reason of why we seek the type of women that we do. And the understanding of the dynamic that women bring, you know, I hear so many conversations, especially on this online space, of this idea of what value do women bring to men. And it's one of those things that really, in layman's term, I want to punch someone in the face when they say this shit, because it's to me it's the I don't know whether it's stubbornness or it's just the inability to understand the beauty and the difference of dynamics that we bring together, especially as men and as women. So those things are quite complementary, and as men, one of the decision that we have had to develop is understanding, okay, these things I'm never going to be great at, therefore this is why my wife is great at what she does. And we delegate those things, and baby, you take care of those things. You're great at it. You know, if you need my hand, you know, my help in those areas, I'll definitely give them, but I'm, you know, there's no shame in admitting I'm shit at doing those things. So yeah, I think Jerk, I appreciate that you brought that on, because there has to be a distinction between tyrants and leaders. And that's one of the things that unfortunately you women will see a tyrant and then put the label of, oh, that's just a man. That's what masculinity looks like. It's toxic. It's my way or the highway. And the appreciation that we have for the show is that we're trying to make that distinction very clear, because it can get muddy and it can be conflated.
And just to like kind of piggyback up to your point, like what the difference between a good and a great leader, I always thought and always believed like a good leader will be convincing and charismatic and make you believe in their vision. They'll make you say that is a great vision and I believe in it. A great leader will never let you forget your own vision and help you develop it. And that's the things it is. They'll include they'll make sure that you have your own vision. It won't just be about where I'm going. It's where you want to go, and hopefully that it's aligned with where you guys want to go together. Like, so, and that's what I think is different, because I've had a lot of good leaders in my life that I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's a great idea. But only a couple of them was like, no, you need to develop your own vision. You know, this is where I want to be. I want to be X, Y, and Z. Where do you want to be? It may not even be, and it look the same as what I look like. And you may, and you will never ever deny you vision in the relationship. Like wherever you feel like you want to be, if it's complementary and doesn't go against the value you set you guys agreed on, he's going to want to try to help you get there as easily and as quick as possible.
Okay.
Definitely agree with you on that. Definitely. I have experience in the military, so
Me too.
yeah. And I really just, like what he said about that, like a great leader is just like a guide. They're not meant to tell you what to do. They're meant to show you the way on where you're trying to go. So that's all I wanted to say. I just really agreed with that.
Nah, just one point, just real quick. It's funny when you hear a lot of the leadership conversations. It's funny. You could tell like a good leader because they don't really fixate on it. And like what Dame and even Paulo and everybody else was kind of talking about, they're looking at more like guiding and from an efficiency standpoint versus like a lot of people, like I could tell the bad leaders, because it's almost like, oh, I want to be involved in every decision. I want to, the micromanaging type. And I'm just like, how the hell can you even get anything done? Or who did you like align yourself with to the point where you just don't have no trust? Or, it's almost like they selected a dumb person to a certain degree. So yeah, there's no way in hell I would want to even like be with somebody where I got to overlook everything or be involved in every decision and stuff. I'm like, man, how can you like have some downtime and, you need some escape from each other a little bit, like whether it's going to the gym or having some like hobbies and stuff. So yeah, a lot of times you could spot like a person that's like fixated. That's probably a terrible leader versus a good leader. Because you're like, hey, take that on. You handle that. We're good. Execute. And it just like simplifies and makes everything more efficient.
A lot of cats like equate leadership nowadays with money and a dick. They think I got money, you should follow me. I should be your leader. I should set the pace of where we're going. Or I'm a man, so you should follow me. I should set the pace of where this relationship is going. And I think that's to the detriment of people nowadays. It's like they have to. It's hard to weed out and see through all this bullshit to get to the people who really have somebody else's best interest in mind. Because everything in society and social media is saying if you got the money or you got the looks or whatever like that, you are the leader off default with no other qualifications necessary in order to show anything.
It's like the peacock effect, right?
Yeah. It's like the stripes on the Yankees jersey. You get distracted by the stripes.
Okay. I heard somebody wanted to add on. Was it you, Carmen or Amber, or was it Nicole? Did you want to say something?
I already said my piece.
Well, I think somebody was saying something about what each person brings to the table, and I think that kind of circles back to teamwork. Because if you look at a team, you look at a basketball team, a football team, whatever the team may be, each player has their own role, right? So it just all circles back what each person brings to the table.
Yeah, and just like what Paulo said, it's when somebody asked that question, you bring to the table. I was like, and somebody once asked me that, and with my wife, what does my wife bring to the table? And so much of it is just like stuff you wouldn't even understand. Like you don't know what it does to me when I'm driving and my wife rubs the back of my neck. I don't care what mood I'm in. I'm automatically in a better mood. For the most part. I mean, there's certain intangible things that she does consistently that just makes my life so much better. And that's the thing that I think women have a keener insight into, those little things that can make a man. Men, not so much. A lot of times we got to be told, hey, I want this and I like this and stuff, and we'll do those things. But it's just not, a lot of that stuff is not inherently in us to just do those things because we know that it would just make you feel good or something that you may need at the time. We're just not that emotionally attuned for. And I think those are the things that I think people minimize when it comes to what women bring to the table as far as what they can provide to a man. Because like I said, my wife does so much stuff and I'm just like, I didn't even know I wanted that, but now I can't live without it, kind of shit.
But Dame, to your point, that's because you guys developed that over time.
Yeah.
So it's like when you first met your wife and you're driving, it didn't have that same effect. I'm not saying you didn't like it, but it didn't have that same effect.
It's definitely increased the what you call it. But I remember I think it was our second date. We were driving and she did that, and I never knew how much I liked my neck being rubbed while I'm driving until she started doing it. You know, she brought
Did
out
you
new
swerve
things to me.
a little bit? Did you swerve in traffic? Said, like, oh shit.
Listen to R. Kelly 12 play, get my neck rubbed. It was I can remember the whole situation.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he had to make a stop at somewhere.
Gotta make it stop. Yeah.
Apollo, you want to share something?
I think the beauty and the dynamic is exactly what Damien is talking about. As men, we're focused on from A to B. How do we get there, and how quickly can we get there? And the beauty that women brings is that they humanize and colorize that process. You know, okay, have you considered these things? No, not really, because I'm concentrated on the outcome. Yeah, but it'll feel a little bit different if you add these little things to it along the way. It adds a little bit more memorable in a different perspective. And it shows in the basics. So, you know, when we have conversation and we discuss ideas, a lot of us men, we want to get direct. How concise can we be in trying to articulate the things that we need to get out? Whereas for you ladies, you like to dance around these conversations, and you maneuver in a way where for us as men, especially for those who haven't spent a lot of time around women, it can look annoying and frustrating that just get to the point. But that's the beauty, is that there is a story in there that we get to go on that journey with you as we listen in. So that's when we compare it to the dynamic that we have in relationship, it humanizes a lot of our efforts. And although oftentimes we can do without it, once we find that and we find that perfect piece of the puzzle that you bring, like Damien said, oh shit, it's almost as if we can't live without it now. I'm sure Damien can get to Coles and wherever he gets to without a rub behind his neck, but it makes it much more enjoyable and an additional element to his relationship now.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Carmen. Yep.
Into what Damien was talking about, how you guys are not inherently attuned to being able to, do the little things. If you guys are self-aware about not being completely in tune, is that a skill or habit you guys can learn to bring value into your relationship?
Yeah, over time, if we value the relationship, we'll pay closer attention to the things and how our women react to certain things that we do, and do them more or do them less or what have you. But it's just certain things that up front we're going to be focused on making sure that we're providing the baseline stuff. Like, okay, we're paying for dates, we're opening doors, we're protecting you, we're trying to be insightful, we're trying to show you, impress upon you our value and what it's going to be like to be with us. It's not about learning you, because we know at the beginning you choosing us. For the most part, it's like you have the power to choose the person that you're going to be with. So we are peacocking, to in various ways to like show our value to you. And it's just it takes time for us to learn those type of things. And once we've committed to you, we could in most times commit to learning the things about you that inherently that are just for you, that you like. In a more deeper than just the surface shit.
Let the record
She's squinting a little bit, Carmen. Carmen, is that cat?
What's
I see you squinting. She's moving her face a little bit. What's up, Carmen? What's on your mind?
No, well, I
calling bullshit.
So no, well, no. It's a question of like, just like only because when you say, oh, well, you're choosing us, I find that hard to believe, because I've always thought that it was the men choosing the women, because eventually you guys ask, will you be with me? Or ask, will you be my wife? Especially as a tradition. I'm assuming you guys are traditional men, so it'd be within the tradition to be
I'm modern as fuck.
For commitment, yes. For commitment,
Hybrids.
yes. But for in the initial interaction, the women are choosing the men. We come up to you and try to impress upon you that we're somebody of interest that you might want to get to know. And then it's your choice to decide, no, I don't want to get to know you, or no, I don't find you interesting enough, or whatever, to get to know you, to take it further than anything surface.
Well, speaking of choosing, are you guys, well, I'm sure some of you can't even answer this question anymore. Maybe you can. Are you guys against women asking you out, or have you
I'm
ever
not.
been like be
Me
like,
neither.
hey, like, is that a turn on for you to be
That's
like, oh,
interesting.
That's a turn on
You
for
better
me.
pull up, goddamn it! Shoot your shot.
Yeah. Hell yeah. If
I
a girl
mean,
Yo,
like
here's
asks
the
me, I think I would go on a date with a girl, even though I normally wouldn't go on a date with her if she had like the courage enough to like, hey, I really want you. Like, okay, all right, let's go on a date. You know, that would be a
yeah.
turn on for me.
I had a quick question in regards to that. So, from you guys' experience as men, the women that approach you, are they generally like good catches for you? Like, wow, like, you know, like, have you
Yeah.
been approached generally by women? If you were to compare the women that approach you versus the women that you approach,
Well,
what
my
is there a
wife
difference?
approached me, so I guess I would have to say, yeah, that like that one definitely was
Let's
good.
talk generally,
As a
not the
whole,
one that was the key.
yeah, as a whole, I wouldn't say they'd probably be somebody I'd be interested in dating most of the time. Yeah, I couldn't say that. I'd
That's
say,
my experience.
yeah.
I would say
So,
for
like,
me,
in
it's about.
general, and oh, go ahead. Go.
I would say for me, it's about. I would say it's about 50-50. I mean, I'll get like the advances from like women that I'm not interested in at all. Um, I don't do anything at work. I keep my business and personal life separate. So I mean, I get those advances. I don't even count those, but just out on the day to day basis. Yeah, I would say it's like it's a mix, and maybe the mix is more of a 70-30 with 70% of the women that I really wouldn't pursue, but I get quite a few that will have enough courage to not just look at me and then smile, like they'll actually take an initiative and say something. And sometimes it's crazy. And I'm like, oh wow, damn, I can't believe you said that. But yeah, go ahead and put your number in here and like we'll talk later. But that doesn't guarantee that
Yeah.
like I'm gonna date them. That guarantees that, I'm gonna follow up with a conversation and see where it goes. And sometimes it goes really well. I had a 8-month relationship from a woman who just kind of pulled up on me, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She did a lot of things for me, but ultimately we were just at different points in our lives, and she had a lot of stuff she had to kind of deal with, and I was working with her through it, but ultimately she wanted more, and I couldn't give that to her because when you have certain things, I have a son, so I can't allow certain things into my life to jeopardize what I've been building for him. So
DA, are we talking about
Yeah.
women
like that.
approaching you, letting you know that there's interest, or women actually ask you out?
women actually
Um,
approaching you, both.
Yeah, I'm talking. I wanted to know with Devil if that was his question. It was like women
Okay.
like asking you
Yeah.
out, or women just
Well,
saying, "Hey, how you doing?"
usually, I was saying in a manner that implies that they are interested in you as more than friends, because the way I see it, women always, if you have a social media presence and you're a woman and you're like in shape, especially, even if you're not, like if you're just a modern woman, you have men that are approaching you that are pretty good catches for you, but might not consider dating you. Like they just see you as like, short-term fun, like those playboys or whatever, athletes, celebrities, sometimes the fuck boys as they call them. And then you have guys that are interested in a potential long-term. And then you have guys that are not even on your level, just shooting their shot, seeing if they get lucky, right? If you're that woman, my guess is if you have all these options and you're going to shoot your shot, you're going to shoot for the guy you're going to probably punch up. And that's been my experience. Like if I compare Bumble dating app and like that, they're the women have to message you first versus like the women that I've gone on dates with from mutual dating apps, like generally speaking, much higher quality when I'm initiating, because I got to work a little bit for it,
But devil's advocate,
I don't
I
want to
think-
damper the women.
I was like, let's bring up dating
Yeah.
apps.
Yeah, dating apps are
Depends
terrible.
on the environment that you frequent, right? So there is no opportunity
Yeah.
for a woman to approach you if you don't frequent certain environments. So you have to be aware of that. It's not so much the women; it's the environment where you're finding yourself in. I'm generally someone who don't
Yeah.
look at show of interest as a way of, oh, that should be a man. Look, we're in a day and time where we both coexist out in public. So there will be opportunities where oftentimes you ladies will show interest rather than guys. In terms of commitment, when it comes to the idea of marriage, I will forever be a proponent of men making that as their move. But show of interest, it can be anyone. There is no, oh, it should be a man's thing. Oftentimes we're pretty clueless.
Yeah,
I don't have anything against the principle of women approaching. It's just when they do, from my experience, it's been,
Well, it seems like because we're
something I
not
would
used
consider.
to it, it's outside of the norm. Either men do one or two things: either they totally oblivious to it and they don't recognize it, and they miss the opportunity, or they overinflate the person's interest and just think they're the shit and just like get a big head about it. I was one of the guys who I couldn't always like tell. Like somebody said, like, she was trying to talk to you. I was like, was she? I'm like, oh, okay. That's
But devil's advocate, I think online, absolutely. I think women have they're getting swarmed. So I think you're completely right. But I think like kind of what Paulo was saying, when you're upfront and you come across somebody and say like, man, you're looking fresh, man, you're smelling good, you got the good lineup. I think that just sets you apart from a lot of dudes that might not be having that like upkeep. And they don't have their self together. So it's like when people can physically see you, I think it's a little different how you come across to people where they might give you that glance and it's like, oh shit.
Well, if you're in the top 10, top 5%, you're gonna get approached as a guy eventually. Yeah, like that. I will grant that 100%. But I'm picturing a woman with a great job, great shape, attractive. This day and age, even if she's not on dating app, she's gonna have so many options that she's not really going to, oh my God, I have to talk to him. Like she's going to be fielding great candidates. She's going to be busy, but I don't want to discourage the women from shooting their shot if they want to shoot their shot. I'd be happy to, for that habit to be broken or for that trend that I see to be broken,
I mean, the question
I don't think there'll ever be a day where men, go ahead.
The
Just
question
before you go, well, women has always initiated the playing field. Started with dropping the handkerchief, the bat of the eye, the flick of the hair, so they've always initiated that. There are a particular subset of men, I should say, who've taken that to a completely different level, which is why you have conversation around the idea of game when it comes to the US in that landscape. But women has always been the initiator of interest.
Yeah. Nowadays, they really like you. They'll like your picture from 6 months ago.
Oh yeah.
This
It's
is
like
something
the
that's
sales,
weird
That's
as like
modern
coming from
version
the
of the drop
guys.
a handkerchief. They'll like
It's
that
like
6
women are
months.
marketers and men are salespeople, right? Men are pitching themselves, but women are marketing just by throwing on some makeup and a dress. Like you're gonna field some pitches, So
And,
that just kind of speaks to what Paolo was saying.
And just out of curiosity, ladies, how many times have you approached a man and asked him out in your entire lifetime? Carmen?
It's a good question, Will.
I shot my shot maybe like twice, and I was shot down both times.
No way.
God damn it! Yes.
I rest my case. How often does that actually happen?
Carmen, her entire lifetime.
And I would bet money. I bet my bottom dollar she wasn't shooting a shot at a 4.
Yeah.
No, she's.
That's all I'm saying. It was probably a catch.
And Amber, your entire lifetime, how many times have you ever asked a man out?
I can't count because I've done it a handful of times. And I think what makes it successful is your approach. If you come off creepy and weird, just like you would feel if a guy came off creepy and weird, of course, the guy's going to be standoffish and not want to talk to you. Like, it's definitely the approach. I've been successful. When I've been denied, I've had guys tell me, I appreciate you coming up to me, but I am taken, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, okay, thank you. No, whatever. Right. I used it as practice a lot to communicate, to build confidence, and it's a lot of fun. You learn how to read people, and body language, eye contact, but I have fun with it. I've had success with it. I've made friends that way. Really good friends that are guys, that good guys, just not didn't work out. But I'll give like a little secret tip for women that if they want to do that, approach a man, but don't want to really approach. I do this, and this is kind of how I find a lot more success. If you see a guy you're interested in and you want to be more subtle about it, just like the guys are saying, women choose the guy they want to talk to. Basically, set yourself up to be approached. You see a guy at a bar, you see he's taking a while to order drinks. You want a drink, go stand next to him, maybe initiate like, oh man, it's taking a long time, right? Like start a conversation, and or even if they find you attractive, they'll initiate conversation with you. Like put yourself in the situation, and then it'll come off as more natural and subtle. So I find a lot of success with that.
All right, no worries.
Definitely against finding men in the bar. But asking for help
Could
is
happen.
one sure way of.
Yeah, I just gave an example.
Stop it.
However, in whatever setting you're in, I don't know, at the mall or something. I don't know.
There's
We're
nothing
gonna
wrong
have
with
a new
finding somebody at the
segment,
bar.
game with Amber.
Yeah.
I just want to add on. So definitely the approach part of it, but also timing. Very intentional men will look at the timing of their life, where they're placed, what sort of position they're currently in, and will consider that when it comes to women. So they could be saying no to you in terms of that. My intent right now is to build something. I'm not ready to be dating someone, and I know if I say yes to you now, it's going to spiral out of control. So timing needs to be a factor in that too. Oftentimes the rejection is not anything to do with you, it's just the wrong timing for that particular type of man.
100% agree with that.
I
got-
agree too.
Nicole, did you ever
That goes
ask
for
to
men
do
and
that?
women.
I'm sorry.
Nicole,
No, I don't. No. No. I never asked. No. But I did want to bring up when somebody was saying about the dating apps. So this is the situation. I have tried the dating apps. I just can't do it because this is the caliber of people I come across. So you're swiping left, you're swiping right, right? And then you get the, well, when can I see you? When you ask me on a date, that's when you can see me. And then it's cricket.
Oh, that
But
Listen, this isn't
That's funny. I was
Netflix
literally
and
waiting for
chill.
the
I
answer.
am
I'm like, when can you see
completely
it?
established.
Yeah.
When can I see you?
and Nicole,
What is that?
what dating app
What is that? Are you available Friday at 8 p.m.? That's how you ask a woman out on a date. You don't. When can I see you?
What's the dating app, Nicole, you use?
Oh
Hinge.
God, I don't know.
Hinge.
What's the
Hinge is
one
where it's
where
at today.
where you is that okay? Well, maybe I'll try again.
Our time.
What is? I think it's Bumble.
Oh, yeah,
I think because then that way you don't get bombarded by messages unless you.
Bumble is where the women
Message
message first.
Yeah, you
so my
can't get
advice to
bombarded
guys
by
is-
crazy messages, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what
Well, you
a-
don't
what a
see the
terrible
messages we
world
get.
to live in.
You don't see the
Okay, yeah.
messages we get.
That's entertainment. I have like girls. I play in a
That is
volleyball
entertainment.
team.
You know what? You
Yeah,
want to set it
these
up?
girls-
I'll screenshot it. Let's go. No,
Yeah, like, they'll
but
show us shit
it's
that
really
they-
bad. It's bad.
God,
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
they're
so out of
funny.
it. I'm like, that
Yeah.
wasn't even a thing like that. They didn't have to.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
ghetto.
it's
Don't
changed. The
do
whole
it.
dating
Dating
market has
sucks.
changed.
Yeah, man. I
Yeah.
remember there was like Yahoo personals or something like that back in the day.
Yeah.
You holler at
Craigslist.
people on.
Craigslist.
You're not that
Jesus.
old.
I'm 49. I'll be 50. So that's where.
Okay, so I'm not the oldest person on the panel.
No, I'm always the oldest one on the panel.
Okay.
I'm not too far behind you, Dame.
Got that wisdom. I see that salt and pepper.
I will
a little
be
bit.
39 in like a few days here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 32.
So.
You haven't even hit 40 yet.
Yeah.
So can I ask
Oh,
the ladies a quick question? What do y'all prefer? Like meeting somebody like organically in person? Do y'all think that's like? Would you recommend that for guys?
Definitely in
100%.
person. Definitely.
That's way better.
Because, like you guys said, maybe,
I've always done better in person.
Oh, definitely. Even if someone has options online, that doesn't mean that they're going to connect with them. Like you
Yeah,
need to get a
facts.
feel of a person in person. That's different energy.
Nothing compares to that. Yeah.
Carmen,
So,
I so don't want to do this, Carmen, but I don't want to, but I need to. I need to know how you shot your shot when you got blown out. What blew when you got shot down? What did you say?
I'm
Well, no,
just
describe the
curious.
before you even get to describe the guy that you or the two guys that you like.
What do
Looks
you mean
What
wise,
you
describe him?
say?
just as looks wise.
Oh, come
like,
on.
1 out of
So
10.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
we're your
you know,
girlfriends. Tell us how it went.
so
He's your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Shut up.
so let me
I'm
tell
just,
you what happened.
I'm
What
just
had
kidding, yeah.
happened was no, so actually the guy that I approached wasn't some stranger off the street. It was just somebody that I've always had like small chit chat with. What I really liked about him was just the way he treated other people. Like I'd observe how he treated other people.
Yeah.
And then within one of our small conversations, I just asked him if he wanted to grab some tea sometime, to get to
Okay.
know each other better, so I can get to know him a little bit better. But he had just gotten out of a relationship, and he was like,
Oh,
"I'm
yeah.
not,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not
you
ready."
came early. You was like, all right,
I
let me
was
lock this
like,
in before.
and I didn't
Timing was
know,
off.
That's
like,
smart. That's smart.
I didn't know that he was. Our small talk never involved his personal life. It was more like, work and just life. But yeah.
So how did he look on a
What
scale of
was
1
the
to 10?
venue?
Hold on. I want to know how he looked on a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale 1 to 10, like a 6, 7
Oh, damn.
to me.
Okay.
Stop it. I don't buy
Yeah.
it.
I really don't like
Attractiveness for women is
no.
different
Well, no, that's why I
Yeah.
asked. That's why I asked.
Yeah,
So-
see.
because
No,
there's
so-
surface level and then there's that thing I said, there's depth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
obviously
look
she was
for
comfortable
depth.
with him, so that gave him
That's
points.
true. But if you were here like a few podcasts ago, I actually don't judge guys by their looks. I can't.
Yeah, y'all say that, but y'all the most pickiest people on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm picking
I was
as far as,
literally
like, who they
picturing
are,
her.
like how they
I was
treat
picturing
people
her
and how
like-
they treat me. That's
But Carmen, you did say y'all worked with each other, right?
we worked in a company. So I work in a really big company, and it's not like we always see each other. It was more like in passing, chit chat, and then we go our separate ways.
Mhm.
That might have been why he probably was just like, yeah, I can't
Yeah,
That could be-
play with my bread like
totally.
that.
Yeah, I totally agree. There was a point
Oh.
in time I actually believe that too. Like, yo, I can't be shit where I eat. That's fucked. I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's causing trouble. But I've also seen very successful couples that also work in the same company, different departments. But
Yeah.
there's not a lot of overlap.
Carmen, I'm not accusing you of anything, but I've heard stories like that a lot, and then usually when they're like, oh, maybe you might even know him here. Let me get a picture of him, and you throws up like damn Idris Elba or something. Like it's usually out of all the guys that this woman is comfortable with enough to casually ask on a date, it's usually like a looker or he's got something going for him. Unless
Was he in
the
great
woman's
shape?
very
And
wise.
she is
or
beautiful.
older.
So
She is, yeah. I'm not saying
I'm alright.
she doesn't.
I'm all right. I can keep
So,
it real. Everybody in
wait.
here. I'm okay. I'm like a 6, 7 myself.
Let her get Idris.
All right.
I think everyone's a 6, 7 until they show up.
Aha.
What does everyone look like in the morning?
Walking out to the bathroom.
Oh,
coughing.
you're asking us. No,
Oh,
offense.
look at my Instagram. I don't give 2 fucks.
No.
Go
I'm
ahead
just
and
saying,
look.
how many points can a guy go down truly? Like, what are we gonna do to ourselves? Like, am I gonna take my beard off? A little Velcro on beard
That's
or
a
something?
whole
I don't
nother
know.
look.
You did that one time. You don't want to do that again, DA.
Yeah, shut up.
Shaved your beard for work.
I look about 19. It'll work to my
Yeah.
favor when I'm 50, looking 30.
All right. I have
man.
another topic I want to bring up. Definitely appreciate the questions that I brought up, Carmen. But just real quick to the live chat. I see RP Tipsy Nomad on the live chat and Must Be Fobs on the live chat. I haven't seen you guys here before, so thank you so much if you're still watching. I appreciate you guys. Definitely, if you see value, like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, this is a public show, so if you do want to jump on as a public guest, I do see a lot of you guys watching from IG. Definitely come over to YouTube and be part of the live chat and participate on the live chat. But thank you so much for watching the entire stream. I want to bring up this topic. This was a conversation that I had on the podcast on Saturday a couple of weeks ago. I think Dame was there. We were talking about good men with good morals and values. And then one of the girls on the panel said, where are all these guys with good morals and values, right? Where are all these guys that you're talking about? And I think Dame, you said, you don't find them. You find them boring. You don't find them.
You said you don't see them because you're not attracted to them because you think they're boring.
Or because they're boring to you. So I wanna bring up to you ladies, because I've had this conversation with some ladies, because if you're talking about men with purpose, men with good morals and values, men who have a plan, men that are actively working, whether he's already made it, or especially most guys, they're still in the beginning stages of their journey, they're working their way up. These guys live a very routine type lifestyle, especially if the guy is very disciplined. I know discipline is one of the things that a lot of women would often mention, especially when it comes to the qualities they find in men. I think Jess, Jess on the podcast, she mentioned it on the live chat. She loves a guy with discipline, right? So a guy that has purpose, a guy that's disciplined, has a value and has a plan for you and his future. These guys tend to live a very routine, monotonous life. And they're, it's not the type of lifestyle that you guys see online, where a lot of guys who do have the money, who do have the status, who are attractive, a lot of times they're, and I think it was in Nicole, you said these guys are flexing online, flamboyant, they're going places, they're traveling. I think social media has skewed the perception of what the type of lifestyle these guys are. But if you're talking about a good man that just wants to build a good life for himself and his family, regardless of what industry he's in, these guys they're living a very simplistic type life. And I'm not saying your life can't be fun. I'm not saying your life can be joyful and you guys can't go on vacation, do great things. But most of these guys that I know who have the values that a lot of women talk about, they're very simple-minded men, because they're just trying to dedicate themselves towards their purpose. And a lot of girls, especially we talk about modern women, oftentimes they'll say, I want these guys with core values and principles, but they come across that guy, but oftentimes they don't find him attractive, or this guy's boring. He just goes to work and comes home. So I think
sign me up for that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of women, what happens is a lot of women would go with the guys who don't have core values and principles, and find out later, especially when you have children, the guys that's better suited to be a parent, better suited for a long-term relationship, are the guys that are simple. And there are a lot of women out there I see it online. They'll say, you know what, I just want a guy that is simple. I want a guy that just goes to work and comes back home to me. I'm good enough with that. But there's also conversation. A lot of women saying, I want this guy, core values and principles. And me and Damon had that podcast. A lot of the girls were saying, that's the guy I want, but they don't attract him. They don't see him. And a lot of times they just find him boring, even if they come across to that type of man. So let me bring it back to you, ladies. These types of men that you guys want with the core values and principles, in my experience, they're very simple men. They live a very simple lifestyle, regardless of what they're trying to achieve for their life. Is that the type of life that you want? Do you want a simple life, or, you want that flamboyant, extravagant life that you see on social media, and you also want the man with the core values and principles? But would you be okay with the man with the core values and principles that we just mentioned, but he also lives a very simple life? And are you okay with that? As long as he's taking care of you, taking care of your children, he's loyal to you, he's committed to you. He's definitely making sure that your future is taken care of, especially financially, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, mentally. But it's a very simple life. Oftentimes these guys are not on social media. Most of the guys that I know who live that type of lifestyle are not active on social media. They're not posting themselves on social media because they live in the real world. They're not trying to prove to everybody who they are in real life, because they're actually doing shit in real life, not social media. So are you okay with that? Are you okay with that type of man, a very simple man that has these core values and principles, or do you want more? Or do you want that, or what you see on social media? You want that guy that's flexing and posting you guys traveling the world and all that stuff that we see on social media. And do you also want that as well on top of that man with the core values and principles? But I'll pass it to you, ladies. What's your response to that, and what do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Amber. Are you okay with the man that's very simple? He has values and principles. Are you okay with the simple guy, simple life, or do you want more? You want more in the lifestyle that he's gonna bring to you?
I'm definitely okay with simple. I'm not the type of person that you have to be showing off on social media, tagging me and everything, posting pictures. You don't have to do that to show me that I'm important to you. If you're doing those things with me in person, the way you're showing me through your actions, that's good for me. You don't have to post a video or a cute photo to show people that. That's fine, you know. But the thing I will say that's really important to me with the simplicity, it doesn't matter how simple the person may be or how extravagant they may be. The important thing for me is living a fulfilling life. As long as the life is fulfilling for myself and for him, and, you know, just together as a unit, that's really important. Whether that's simple or extravagant, whatever that may be, it needs to be fulfilling.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amber. I'll pass it to you, Nicole. Do you like a simple man with the core values and principles? Goes home, just goes to work, does his job, and comes back home to you.
100%. I mean, that's the life I do live. I don't even leave this house. I think I told you that on the last cast. I work from home. If you follow me, you know, I work from home. I might leave once or twice a week on the weekends to go to Costco. But I also do take those trips though, right? So I'm not just, I might stay home for months and months and months on end and tend to all my animals and tend to my family. But do I want to go on a trip with him and I? Of course, why not? You want to get out and do stuff. Does it need to be public? Absolutely not. But no, I think that's exactly what I value now is who I am in this moment. Now, if you would have talked to me when I was 24, 23, then I might have given you a different story because I used to be a cocktail waitress and I worked in San Francisco and I worked in San Jose.
Yeah.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, done.
That was gonna be my next question.
Well, I have a question. When did that transition kind of happen for you? Just really quick.
Yeah,
like around what age would you say?
Won't let Carmen answer, then we'll let's see if they all.
Let Carmen, then I'll come. Then you guys can ask.
Yeah, we got some questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, okay. So you want that simple in your 20s. You didn't want that, but now at this age, you want that simple man. Okay, fair enough. I'll pass it to you, Carmen. Do you want that simple man with the core values and principles?
Yes, please. I'll have one. For me.
So order for one.
One of those.
Take an order for one.
Yeah. I'll give my address, have them deliver like Amazon.
Okay. All right. Let me put that order in right now for you. I got you. Okay.
All right. Well, now that all you guys lied, we're now going to give you guys pushback. No.
What?
I feel like they grown, they've evolved.
How about now? Yeah, now.
Tell me.
So
when did that change? No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Maddie. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's exactly what I was going to ask for Miss True. Around what time did that change, and like what kind of brought forth that change? Like what age would you say that changed? This is all for my personal research.
After I had my son.
Okay.
Because my priorities changed because my life wasn't about me anymore. My life was about him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And my life is still about him.
Yeah. So, what age would you say that it was? So it wasn't really an age. It was just.
I was 26.
26. Okay.
If you want to be specific, 26, 27.
26. Okay.
And did I still want to go play? And did I a little bit? Sure did.
But that wasn't the.
Did that get me anywhere? It did not. So I made my priorities what they needed to be.
So do you think if you didn't have your son, it would have been around 26, or it probably would have been a little bit later? Or do you think you would even change your perspective on it?
No, because I think I've grown up around a lot of solid people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been at each end of the spectrum. I have family that has more money than I could ever hope to have. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've grown up with a family of entrepreneurs. Do I want to be one? Maybe not, because I know what goes into that. So I've seen what it is. I've seen both spectrums. I don't think I was ever that irresponsible to begin with, honestly. Yeah. I did go home. I did my fun, but I also came home.
Yeah, no, I
at night. You know what I mean? I wasn't bringing home random strangers in my bed every night either.
Yeah, no.
I went out. I had fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just more curious as to where do you think that age or level of maturity would have been if you didn't have your son? Do you think it would have been, you know, still the same age, 26? Do you think it would have been more 28? Do you think it would have been like your early 30s? You know, and this is all hypothetical, obviously, because you can't. But were you headed towards that direction?
Hypothetically, well, like I said, I've always been pretty responsible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an only child, and I grew up around people who own their own companies and own their own businesses my whole life. So I've always known what responsibility is. You work hard and you play harder. So if you are responsible in your life, and then you can go have fun, but then you come home and then you get the shit done that you need to get done. I was always very disciplined. Before I had my son, I was in the gym the moment I woke up. I went to work, and I used to go to the gym when I got home. I'd go to bed, and I'd go out on the weekends. So I was already pretty disciplined prior to that.
Yeah, no, I'm not speaking.
I had a good head on my shoulders.
Yeah, I'm not speaking towards your responsibility level, but you said earlier in your preference was, you know, just more. You're younger, you're learning life, you're experiencing things and stuff like that. I'm just saying, and you said.
I mean, I can't speak to something that I didn't experience, to be honest. I can only give you my perspective of what I just gave you.
Okay, all right.
So, Miss True, what are some of the travel places that you
I want to go to now?
yeah. Like if you get a vacation.
I can't even think of it. I just saw it. There's a place I'd like to go to in England, and it's one of these stone structures. I'm an outdoors.
Stonehenge?
I can't think of. No. It's like a circle, and you can go through it, and then it has these other two like posts at the end. I will send it to everyone later. I cannot think of it now, but I want to travel and see cool things and eat good food.
Okay, you definitely matured because that's some old people shit that you said. Because you know most young people be like, I want to go to Bali, I want to go to more, you know, some shit like that. So I gotta give you that. You're there. All right, you passed the test.
I'm curious. At age what it?
I want to go see some rocks that I can count.
Yeah, you're like, I want to go see a rock. I'm like, yeah, she definitely, she's there. She made it in life. She hit that like maturity landmark.
All right. I want to know what I'm curious about Karma because Amber, I bet you're like young, right? You're like 24 or something like that.
I'm 30.
Oh, okay.
But Amber said something though. We gotta explore that.
I want to know about Carmen. I want to go to Carmen. I want to jump right.
We're gonna come to Amber next because we gotta explore that. She said a key word and it sounded expensive.
Carmen, were you partying with Eliza in her 20s?
Nah.
Okay.
I had my son when I was like 19, so I had to grow up real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Eliza used to party and we used to party. So
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, even now she still like goes out. I mean, but good for her. Like she should probably live her life.
Probably ain't partying how we used to party back in the day. She's a lot more responsible. I'm willing to bet.
Oh no, you know. Sorry, I'm not really the partying type. I actually don't really like crowds.
Okay.
So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, me too.
So was there a transition from like
Costco is an experience.
So was it always like I want the kind of like mellowed out, kind of like laid back kind of situation, or did you ever yearn for the more exciting, you know, fast paced thing, and then it come to a point where you kind of, you know, progressed out of that?
Not really. So like when I was younger, like in my 20s, my best friend, she was like childless, and I was the only one that had a child. I'd make time to hang out with her and, you know, go party. It was never my thing, and it's still not. If I do go out though, I like dancing. As long as there's I had spoke about this like I think when I first met Will, I love to salsa dance. You know, like I would make time for that experience as like the masculine and the feminine energies just kind of intermingling. But yeah, that's I'm not a party person.
Yo, speaking of dancing, I have a wedding in Rio de Janeiro that I have to go to in a month. And I kind of wish I would have learned something like that because
I'm gonna teach you.
It's gonna be me and like. So I have a,
First off,
hey, I'll be the clueless American guy. Can you teach me to dance? But like,
Okay, this is where I tap back in. That's actually an opportunity.
Oh
If
yeah.
you don't know
Oh
how
yeah.
to dance, get on the dance floor, find a partner, and say, "Hey,
Mhm.
teach me how to step."
YouTube.
I know. You know, I don't know. I like that the Latin culture still has masculine and feminine, and I like that you know, like they have the traditionalism that the West has lost. I like the idea of leading, especially in dancing. So it'll be. I'm not a huge dancer, like
I'll give you.
so.
I'll give you
It'll
one
be
better.
different.
I'll give you one
It'll be a
better.
challenge for me.
It's much more effective to have the feeling of being needed. So you
Mhm.
talk about feeling of being a leader. Feeling of being needed is giving someone else authority to teach you something new. It's quite effective.
Yeah.
I did a bit of dancing. So I'm going to jump back into this conversation a little bit earlier in the topic. Simplicity is a misconception of these type of men, and it's conflated with boring because we don't outwardly display intimacy into public. We play, and we play hard. But we do that in only in reservation of the people that we share. In this example, in romantic relationship with our person, and there is something to be spoken about when it comes to the type of men that we speak of. One of the great traits that we have is that the women that we bring along the ride, there is a joy that they find in the journey of rediscovering who they are. And that in itself is fulfilling for a lot of women. And that's why, you know, when we look at our relationship, that's what we stand in, is that we see the women that we take care of find themselves in things that they never thought that they will have the ability to do so. So all these things of going outwardly to Bali and all these things, oftentimes the reason why these type of women become homebodies, and it sounds like that you ladies have an idea of it, is that they spend a lot of time discovering things that they've, oh, you mean I don't have to go to work? I can sit here and develop a lot of these things that I've never had the time for. I never knew I liked these sort of books. I never knew I liked, you know, going out and just doing the garden or all these things. So there's a difference in there. And it's, look, simplicity is conflated as boring, but we have fun. You just don't get to
Yeah.
see it.
Exactly. I agree. I
Yeah.
just wanted to, I don't want to skip Amber because I got to put, I just remembered
Oh,
you
yeah.
were, Harambe Jack was in love and then he went to your IG and it blew his mind. So maybe you the wild card that like like to wild out or what have you.
Well, I think it's because I go to a lot of concerts, events, music festivals. I really like music. I like to, you know, experience music live or whatever. I have a good set of friends that I go to these things with, really good people, even married couples, right? And I have a good time. I meet a lot of great people. You know, and I'm sober. I don't partake in a lot of things. Like my lifestyle, it's very different and it's not normal. And what a lot of guys, I guess, would find appealing, you know, I don't like that music. So I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't be interested in her because she does that all the time. It's like, no, that doesn't define who I am. I'm actually completely different outside of these things, you know. When I'm home, I'm just like Miss True. You know, I stay home a lot. I don't go out. I'm not at the clubs every weekend. You know, I travel a lot. I like to go do things. I travel with family. I've traveled with close friends. So a lot of people are going to take the social media and see that at face value, like, wow, she's not someone I would marry, or she's not someone, the ideal woman. But they don't even know me. They just know like 24 pictures that I posted online of myself.
And what you do on social media?
I
He
know.
didn't
I'm
do
like,
nothing. It's very tame. He was
Yeah.
Y'all bringing
trolling.
us up like
It wasn't that salacious or anything like that. It was just
I
Yeah.
just jumped in the water.
But all right,
couple
Miss.
of net shirts in here and there.
Oh,
you know,
okay,
stuff
okay.
like that.
But Amber, what's some places you travel to?
I just got back from Africa in January.
shit.
So for me, something that I've done for myself since I've been 18, my birthday's New Year's Eve, so I make it a big deal every year. I decided to start taking trips. They started off with, you know, like a weekend, turned into a week, and now I celebrate the whole month of December. And so
You have to celebrate the whole month.
you do. You know, I love Christmas and my birthday. Everyone's out doing something. So, you know, I came back from Africa. I went to Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya. And that was very humbling, learning about the culture and, you know, especially about dating, like hearing other people's perspective, because they're mostly Muslim, and how they view women and kind of experiencing all that. So that was really interesting. And, you know, I still talk to people over there and we talk about the different cultures and such. I've traveled through South America. And next I want to do Europe. So, and I've been to Bali. Bali's amazing. And I will say I went with an ex of mine. That trip was ruined. So I need to have my, I don't know if you've seen it. It was terrible.
Jerk knows all. The jerk knows. No, I'm joking.
Terrible, but I need my Eat, Pray, Love, whatever movie scene. I need to go back to Bali and just enjoy it myself, you know, do yoga.
Solo travel.
Exactly.
Go by yourself. I'm an only child. I love doing it by myself.
Just do it. Highly recommend it. It's beautiful. But yeah, Asia and South America are the most places I've been to, but I want to do Europe and Australia next, if that answers.
No, great. But I did want to jump back into what Paulo was saying about, you know, guys that have their stuff together that might appear boring. I would say, honestly, sometimes they are boring, but I think you got to look past it. One thing I would say to females is like, man, ask a guy what he's doing long term, because sometimes they might be striving for those goals and stuff. And, you know, even myself, and I know like we all talked about it, I don't budge until I hit like certain milestones and stuff like that. And I think a lot of guys that like look at the bigger picture, they're striving for that. So they're not going to, you know, sway from that like path that they got to go. So I know a lot of times we do talk to females. We're like, are you sure you want a ambitious guy? Because they're not going to waver from that path a lot of times. So it could look boring, but I think Miss True and even Amber and Carmen, y'all hit on it where it was just like you know, simplicity. And once you kind of start hitting those things, you start playing hard, you know, once you kind of get to that point. So you know, I just wanted to mention that. And then one thing for devil's advocate, hey, if you can't dance, don't get on that dance floor. You might want to play that bar like James Bond, you know, get you a drink and, you know, just look cool by the bar. You know, don't get out there doing a running man talking about.
Hell no, bro. That's never me. I ain't going out like that. He warned me. He said you're not gonna want to leave Brazil.
Yeah.
He was like,
if you find a boring or kind of like low key guy who's super focused and like is all his ambition, what have you. The thing about when they take you out though, it's going to be an experience. It's not going to be some cheap thing like that. They're good because they like comfort and they want to relax. I know I like comfort and I want to relax. So I don't even go like certain places if I don't know it's going to be a very comfortable situation. So they're not going to be like, you're not going to be in like, you know, the travel lodge, even though there's nothing wrong with whatever, but you're going to have an experience when you go out.
I got to give Dame some pushback.
Yeah, I'm giving pushback. Like you got to speak for yourself.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just too bougie.
Panera bread.
When I go out, and when we go, my wife and I go someplace, I like it's got to be like an experience that it's just like
go hard or go home.
Yeah.
Keyword.
Shout out to Dame. You coming with me? You going to Bergen Beach in Brooklyn?
But it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah. And maniac and sophisticated. Are you two single? Because I know the other two are married. I'm just curious what your perspective.
I'm divorced.
Okay.
So the deal that I give for a woman I'm interested in is completely different from the deals I gave my wife when I was with her. Like I'll just speak on it real quickly. I was on a work assignment and I was in Europe doing some things for a couple months, and I had like a surprise trip. So I flew her to Paris because she had never been, and it was a surprise. So I gave her like pretty much I had to give her like heads up because she worked. But so I gave her like a 2 weeks heads up, and then I sent her the itinerary, and she noticed. She was like, "Hey, there's a few days in the beginning. Can we, stop by Italy too?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." And I just gave her my information because I trusted her to call the airlines and, switch the reservations with the flight, move some things around. And she did that. When we got to Italy, she she didn't lock in the hotel. She had the wrong date. So here we are in Italy at 10 p.m. with no place to stay. And, and she was like so embarrassed and like, oh my gosh, I should just let you do it. And I was like, no, you did really good. I mean, you did all this, like, we'll figure it out. And it was like a perfect example of teamwork because, her strong suit was, calling airlines and getting all that. And that's something that would have took me forever. I would have been, but she's able to do stuff like that. But when shit fell apart and we didn't have a hotel, that's when I stepped in and I made some phone calls and it's like, hey, we have the wrong date. And they were like, hey, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. And I was like, there's something you can do because you took my money. So either you're going to refund me the money because I didn't go there, and it was a conversation and they were like, okay, we'll make some accommodations. And they rerouted me multiple places. And then I eventually got to a place that only spoke Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish, but she did. So then, pass the torch back to her. And, it was literally a full blown teamwork. We had to actually walk quite a bit because the location was just kind of like out there because they had to move things around. But ultimately, we slept in a nice bed and, it was like a bed and breakfast and it all worked out. But yeah, as far as like dating now, like I'm not flying nobody to fucking Paris.
Yeah, don't do that.
Not doing shit like that.
Don't do
Like,
that.
I just want to ask one more question to the ladies before we conclude. I just want to add something that Dirk said that I resonated with. When you meet guys who are on their purpose and they're working towards something, and they have their core values and principles, these guys, they're not going to negotiate on that, especially if they're trying to achieve a certain outcome. And the reason why I say that is sometimes because you guys want to find men with good morals and principles. And I think sometimes when you come across these men, especially if they're trying to build something, it might take them a little bit longer time to achieve something before he does something great for you, especially a lot of the fellas, like, they want to take you out and give you an experience. If they're still working towards something, you may have to be a little bit more patient with them for him to build himself to achieve what he wants. And then you guys can celebrate once he achieves that outcome. But I think it's hard to navigate that when there's a lot of guys right now that would willingly compromise their own standards just to spend money on you, just to be with you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's something that's hard to distinguish for a lot of women is you want the guy with good morals and values, and you align with the guy who has the morals and values, but they're not patient enough to be with him because it takes time for a man to build up to get to that point. And then so as they're waiting to be patient with him, there's also guys in your DMs that's willing to spend their rent money to take you to Bali. All right. So are you willing to sacrifice the instant gratification to achieve the long-term success with the man with the morals and values, and be able to say no to the guys that, look, I know you're with this guy, but he's not there yet. But look, I got the ticket booked right now. I got the hotel booked right now. Just come over here and we'll go to Bali or we'll go to wherever you want. And there's guys like that. But those are the type of guys that usually they're going to compromise their morals and values just to be with you, or most importantly, to have sex with you. And that's something you have to learn to distinguish, because guys with morals and values, and I think this is something that you can add value to you guys. The guys that with morals and values, they wouldn't have no problem saying no to you, even at the cost of him losing the relationship, even at the cost of he has to walk away, if he's trying to achieve the purpose in his life. So say if you want to go to a specific place, but that doesn't align with the time frame of what he's trying to do, the guys that really stick with their morals and values will absolutely say no to you. I can't do it. And then a lot of times I've had conversations with a lot of women where the guy would say no, but then the guy in the DM would say, hey, he doesn't want to take you to Bali. I'll take you to Bali. All right. And then she goes with that guy and you guys go to the place, but then in a long-term relationship, because he lacks the values and morals, it doesn't work out long-term after you guys go with the trip. So just understand that that's something I want to add. Like a lot of times when you deal with these guys who, that all these fellas mentioned, there's going to be a lot of times that he's going to say no to the things that you guys planned because something came up or an opportunity presented itself when he didn't present itself when you planned something, and he has to take advantage of the opportunity because, you know, that's the name of the game. So just understand that a lot of times you guys will plan with this guy, it will be readjusted, and sometimes you have to. He'll say no to you. Look, I know we planned this, but this opportunity just came. I have to say no right now, and then we can figure it out later. But you know, but I think for a lot of modern women, it's hard to be patient because there's a lot of guys right now that's in your DMs that they're willing to sacrifice anything and spend money on you to give you whatever you want, to pleasure whatever you want. And do you have the discipline for yourself? We talk about discipline. As women, do you have the discipline just as much as you want discipline in men? Do you have the discipline to ride it out with that guy long term? Eventually to get to that point where you guys can enjoy those great things, but it will be a struggle. So I guess the question I want to ask, just saying that the question I want to ask you guys, are you willing at this point of your life, are you willing to ride out with a guy and start from scratch and sacrifice all these trips so that way he can achieve his purpose? Or then it's okay if you don't want to. You know, I want a already finished product. I want a man that's already finished. He's already on his purpose. He has the morals and values, and it's not going to be a problem when wherever we want to go, we'll go somewhere. We'll go there. At this point of your life, do you want the man that you have to be more patient and be more disciplined and ride out and start from scratch? Or at this point of your life, no, I'm not ready for that. I just want the guy that already has the moral values. His life is already accomplished, and I just want to go with that guy. Like, what's your preference? Let's start with you, Nicole.
Who are these guys in my DM taking me on trips?
Open it.
I gotta go check my messages.
You're doing the hidden messages that you block.
No. No. That's not my reality.
You never had a guy that wanted to take you out or spend money on you?
Have y'all seen Nicole's IG? She it's like a lot of chickens and stuff.
I have my dogs, my cats, my chickens. Who is taking me to Bali? Let's go. No, I could take, if I wanted to go to Bali that bad, I could take myself to Bali. Okay. If a man is approaching me and we're in a relationship and he is on his business and he is building his company or whatever it is he is doing, that is the most important thing.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if he doesn't have that, we go to Bali and then next week he needs to go to McDonald's to feed the family. No.
Yeah.
No, I don't need anybody to take me on trips and do all that. That's not where my priorities lie.
Okay, so you'll be with the guy that's building, and then that's the most priority, the purpose, because the benefit of the family before the trip.
100%.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, I'll pass it to you, Amber. Amber, same thing. Do you are you willing to ride out with the guy in the beginning stages, or do you want a finished product?
I'd say I'm in between. And I say that because...
There's no in between. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
No.
I want to hear an explanation. Why are you in between?
That doesn't fly around here. That doesn't fly. There's no both.
Can I give my point of view
50,
though, or no?
50.
Or you just want like a straight...
Amber, that in between stuff. That's like those dance movies where they tie and then they like got a face off. You know,
there's a reasonable like explanation for it.
Okay.
I'm at a point in my life where like
you get a little latitude, but if you come with the bullshit, we're gonna call it. Go ahead.
I'm just kidding. Snap the fingers like last time. I'm just kidding. So I'm in between where I don't need someone that's already established. Obviously, that's always a plus if you find someone that's, you know, on the same vibration as you, where you're at in life, and they're already established. That's fine. I don't need that. But I'm also not looking for someone that's starting from scratch. Like where I'm at in my life, I'm already in the process of starting to build my career. I'm getting into starting a business.
Okay.
And I'm in the middle where I'm not that fully established, but I'm past starting from scratch. I've already developing a path. Okay. So I want someone that is in the middle of their path that's already initiated that process, not someone that is starting from ground zero, you know?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, yeah. That's what I mean by in the middle.
I'm gonna call
baby bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Turn up, Dame.
No. It's just because it's just some of those things. It's like, if that's the case and you both are kind of in the middle of that journey, where do you have the time for each other to kind of develop and focus on each other? If one person is either if both people are saying, okay, here's where I'm trying to be, here's where I'm trying to be, then do you think the relationship sacrifices a little? You have to sacrifice a little bit of relationship because you're both on this trajectory that neither one of you probably want to get off of or diverge from.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just one of those things. So the reason that's different is like we kind of like giving a hard line between either you are like, okay, I'm developed, I'm on my purpose, I'm doing it. And it's nice that I don't have a person who's, what we hear a lot is I like to don't have a person who's just as busy and doesn't have time for things like me, that they can just kind of be there as a support system and what have you. Or it could be like, I'm all for somebody starting out, because then we can sit there and strategize together and develop a purpose together and make sure that we, kind of commiserate and get together and make and work it out together and be a team situation. It's difficult. That's why I was like, that middle stuff is kind of difficult because there's not a whole lot of time for a relationship in that middle, but in the drought season when you're like hustling, like to get where you're going. But but if you can stand on it, and I will respect that and give you that latitude and have it. But I just think one of them usually tends to weigh more heavier in somebody's mind than the other, and then the middle ground is kind of like an easy way out.
Well, when I say middle ground, I don't mean just career. I mean as a person as well. Like I've done my inner work, I've done my healing and finding myself, whatever it is, right? To grow as a person. That's what I mean, as well as middle too. I want someone that is emotionally aware, emotionally mature, someone that it knows what they want and they're not unsure in life. And I agree with you as well as the conflict of timing. Like maybe they're trying to do something in their life that conflicts with what I'm trying to do. And I think that's why it does make it difficult trying to find that equal ground. But I do, just based on my own experiences, I do think that there are schedules that do align, with what you're trying to do. Like me, I have a flexible schedule, even though I'm doing what I'm doing, no matter how busy I might get. If I want to see somebody, I'll make the time to see them. That's not an issue. With me traveling and doing whatever, like that's stuff that I can plan. If I really want to, I don't have to plan that. I can make time for the person rather than doing that on my free time. So I think it's just kind of how like you utilize your free time outside of what you're trying to do and kind of aligning schedules with the other person. Because at the end of the day, the saying is true. If a person wants to see you, they're going to see you. They're going to put in the effort. No one's too busy. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in the day. Everyone just utilizes it differently.
That's different for ambitious men. So.
And just Amber, just for the sake of the question, if you had to pick like on a hypothetical, if I was a genie and I could grant you a wish, do you want the finished product, or do you want the guy that's working in the beginning stages of his purpose?
Well, I guess if I had to pick one, I would just say the beginning stages.
Okay.
I'm surprised. I thought you would say the other route.
Same, yeah.
Yeah.
Amber is full of surprises.
The hard thing about the finished product guys is they're harder to get. Like I have some friends who met their spouse in like some situations, like the woman had a 4-year degree, started making money, and the guy stayed in school for a few years. Now he's a doctor and bearing the brunt of the responsibility. But I mean, even like in my relationships, like the most recent person I talked to is a nurse practitioner, and like I just noticed it's just like the trend with our generation is like, have you guys ever seen the analogy where like you fill a glass with, if you can put this like a pool ball and then a couple golf balls and then sand and then water in it, and it all fits and it's perfect.
Yeah.
But if you put the water in it and the sand in it, you can't put any of the golf balls in it. You can't put the pool ball in it. And that's kind of how it happens when two adults, like they have their whole life, they have the schedule, they have their location, sometimes kids, like it's so much harder for somebody to fill in the space.
Yeah.
And like, you can go on fun trips together, you can go on fun dates together, but as far as like partnering for life, it's just so much harder when both adults, like historically, to be fair, women would be the ones that had the the flexibility to support the man and fill those gaps. But now women have careers, and some of them have kick-ass careers. Like the nurse practitioner I talked to, she has 3 dogs. She lives an hour away. She works 50 hours a week, so it's like every weekend we could see each other, and she doesn't want kids. So I mean, how much can you really
Send her my way. No, I'm just
Can
playing.
I
yeah
can I provide a bit of pushback
Only
here?
3 dogs?
perfect.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
it's like,
3 dogs. Yeah, they're awesome.
Hey,
Only
it
3?
sounds like I can continue to do what I can
Yeah,
do.
big dogs.
She's not gonna interrupt me.
Yeah, let me.
I have a 130-pound dog.
Can
I think
Okay,
the-
not that big. More like 80, 90.
we got to
I
get
think the
Carmen.
idea of finished product is taken away from the man that we're trying to describe in these conversations. And that's my perspective. I don't think, for us men who have this conversation, I don't think we'll ever reach whatever it's called a finished product. Now, we can talk about it in measure of success, but I think in this conversation earlier, we have gone away from the idea that success defines the product that we're trying, or the identity of the man that we're trying to have conversation around. So, and again, rules are for followers. So it's always great, when women define, the type of man. But again, I can guarantee you, someone with authority, a man with authority, can say to you, "Can you hang back for 2 years? I've got to finish this stuff, and then I'll concentrate on helping you." Vast majority of you ladies will say, "Yeah," because you understand that this is a particular type of character that means what he says and says what he means, and there's a level of confidence that you have in that. So the idea of people make time, it's not necessarily, again, let's disqualify the type of man that you're not attracted to, and let's qualify the type of man that we're describing in standards and value. These men are very relentless when it comes to their purpose. And when they describe an outcome in terms of money and finances, typically the women are more than happy to fall back and say, "Let me support you. I can see where your vision is going. And, if I pick this thing back up again, I'll pick it up."
Paulo,
So
that's not what I've seen is that portion of the population of women with the foresight to think like that long term and constructively. They've become they transition to that mindset older and older over the past 30 years. Like, it used to be my grandma, 18 years old. My grandpa was a mailman, 18 and 19. Now they had 9 kids. My mom was the youngest one, right? That doesn't happen now. Now it's like they start having kids 31 on average, 30. And, it's like the analogy that I use. Like, I feel like that's the best ideal scenario, but it's happening later and later in life, and less women are willing to do that until later. Like,
I think it's
that's
two
my
part.
pushback.
So it's two part in the sense that, yes, that's a reality. Women are delaying a lot of these things that typically were in the younger days. But I think most of that delay comes from the men. We have conversational cliche throwing around, men don't fully develop their brain until they're 26. Okay. How does that contribute to a man building his value based on models that he sees as a young man? Rite of passage, we're very young. And at the end of a rite of passage, typically we're in still the teenage, young adult sort of stages. So these things, although it's a reality, but the purpose of the masculine mind is that we identify trends, and not only that, look at how history has provided us with some good data set of how men should be. And
I love
again,
data.
Yeah, sure, women are delaying it because when we have conversation with women, where do they find maturity? In 30s and up.
Yeah.
I think we can do that a lot more earlier, and a lot more earlier if we have these conversational framework, right? My earlier conversation with Will in terms of the birthplace of masculine mind was the idea of men from the age of 15 to 18 should be fucking workhorses. You should break your back. And then from the ages of 20 up to your 25, you should start developing system to be efficient. Once you hit your 30, it's time to look inwardly into corporate ladders and climbing. But you need work ethic. You need to establish a habit of working hard, being resilient, and all these things, right? So I dislike the idea of finished product because I don't think men who look at standard and values and think, oh, once I accomplish this thing, I'm going to be the polished gem. We're always looking to refine. We're always looking to improve.
Yeah, but I gotta pass it to Carmen for the sake of time. We got to
yeah.
conclude. All right, Devin. But Carmen, last response, and then we'll conclude for tonight's show. Do you at this point right now in your life, like, do you prefer the guy that's still working and you can build with him and work towards his purpose, or do you want a guy that's more maybe I won't say finished product, but more established already?
To build. I'm a builder. Even at my age right now, I love working. I'm a workhorse myself. And I mentioned in the earlier podcast that I'm more of the team player. I want to know what you got going on, and how can I help you achieve what you got to do. So I think as long as there's communication and how I can help, build into or expedite like your dreams to, I don't know how I can fit in. But if I can, put me somewhere and let's make it happen.
Yeah. You know what? I just want to say this. I think was it Damien who said this on this podcast, that you don't have to fit in. That man will make sure you fit if it aligns with where he's going. Yeah.
Right. Hence the conversation. Like, if you think I can help you out, then obviously, like,
if you're not woman,
utilize me.
Fit. Make it fit. You're not woman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, I wanted to say something to Devil's Advocate where, one of the things we try to do is like we bring in everybody and everybody has like great input on this, like the different platforms that Will has. And it's just like, I think these conversations are going to help people out because, people are prolonging stuff, but we're kind of seeing repercussions of a lot of these like delayed decisions and stuff.
Yeah.
So for example, like, just even with me and my wife, we were the boring people. I remember everybody was like, man, y'all don't never do nothing, because we were just focused on building towards legacy and stuff. But, now all those people, relationships were broken out because they never plan for the long term and stuff. Everything was just reactionary, spend money here. And then it's just so short term that like now they're just like, damn, we wish we would have planned stuff out like y'all and stuff. So I think like us having these conversations out in public, in a good, respectful manner is gonna, could help people out because they could be like, you know what, I am kind of chasing everything right now, but maybe I need to slow up and look at things a little differently. Like the guy that has the long-term plan, even though it might not be appealing right now in this moment, that's going to be stable and, it's going to look very good in the long run. So just
that's a good point, Jerk. Manny, did you want to add on real quick before we conclude? Did you just want to say something?
Not really. Yeah, no, I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, but I see Jody Jebs on the live chat. Never seen you here before. And you definitely have an admirer, Damien.
Yeah, okay. She's
Damien's been talking about fat asses, and I think YouTube gods have heard him.
She heard that long-term plan Damien was spinning. And,
yeah, she was like, look,
get on that plan. But as always, we have come to the end. Shout out to everybody on the live show that tuning in, watching from different platforms. I appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much. Shout out to the panel. Thank you for making the time. Definitely had a great conversation. Ladies, thank you for making the time as well. Definitely appreciate the female perspective when it comes to the things that we discuss on the masculine mind. But I'll pass it back to you guys. What's your final thoughts and takeaways from tonight's combo, and how can they find you? I'll start with the ladies as always. Nicole, good to have you back. Always a pleasure. And final thoughts and takeaways, and how can they find you, Nicole? So that guy that wants to spend money on Bali, he can finally find you.
Where are you? No. You can find me on Instagram, Miss True, MSTRUE. I think the final takeaway, I think it just depends on where you are in life as an individual and what your individual morals and values are, and if that lines up with the person that you're meeting. You have to be on the same page. You can't be on two different ball grounds. So I think you have to be on the same page. I think you need to have that discussion and make sure you're on the same wavelength.
All right. No worries. Thank you so much, Nicole, for jumping on. I'll pass it to you, Amber. Good to have you back again on the pod. Final thoughts, takeaways, and how can they find you, Amber?
Thank you for having me again. It's really interesting for a different perspective this time, hearing from all the guys and what they think about themselves and, you know, others. But final takeaway, it doesn't matter how old you are, where you're at, where you're on your path, just find the person that's, you know, at least of equal to you. Whether you're looking to build with someone or someone already established, just find someone that's on the same wavelength as you, you know, and it can only get better from there. You can find me on Instagram _adventure_Amber and all my festivities.
All right. Best. Thank you so much, Amber. Always good to have you back on. I'll pass it to Carmen. Carmen, as always, you're the only inducted female member of the Masculine Mind. Thank you so much for jumping on again. Thank you for the questions. But what's your final thoughts, and how can people find you, Carmen?
Yes. So you can find me Samba Passion, SAMBAPASSION on Instagram. Final thoughts are, again, I enjoy getting the input and information from you guys, particularly in the question that I was like, do you guys like to be, you know, asked out? Because there's a moment in time where I think I'm gonna take another shot pretty soon.
Oh, okay.
So you can't hold me down.
Do it.
I'm gonna miss. I can't miss. You know, gotta be like you guys.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't
That
take.
you don't take. That's
There
right.
you go.
There you go.
No,
There
you
you
know,
go.
I'm a
There you
risk taker, but I'm a risk taker. So, yeah.
All right. We definitely need an update on that next. You know how that
Yeah.
went. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Carmen. I'll pass it to the fellas. Devil, final thoughts. How can they find you, Devil?
Sure. Devil's Advocate 304 on Instagram. You guys should just type yours in the back so I can live vicariously through you when you guys travel. That not just the ladies. I agree. Paolo, you made a great point there at the end. Finished product doesn't fully encapsulate what comes with an ambitious man. I do disagree that in mass women do or would agree to kind of fall in line to a man that's a leader and on good pace to becoming, you know, what he should be by 30. I think on average, women want to kind of experience, at least a smaller and smaller amount of women are wanting to fall in line kind of with the traditional roles. I think if we combine, Paolo, your constructive advice about how men should be workhorses and then work to build themselves with my kind of risk mitigation aspect, like, okay, this is how society's changing. So you're going to have to do more diligence than our parents and grandparents did to make sure that women have the right values for what you want and at a young enough age that it's going to work for if you want to have kids or, you know, have those conversations, not at 32, but maybe 22. And so like you combine those two and, oh God, I'm getting some looks. And I think we would have a better direction, at least as far as gender relations in society. So I appreciate your input there.
Yeah. All right, Devil. Thank you. Thank you for coming on as a guest. Pass it to Damien. Final thoughts, and how can we find you?
You're on mute, Dave.
You're on mute.
Oh, for me.
Thank you. It was an absolutely great panel. The ladies were phenomenal. You guys, it's always good rocking out with you. I always feel like we get some really good insights out there that are necessary for people to hear. And I really enjoy this panel. Yeah, anybody want to get in touch with me, they can. I do have a YouTube channel like that I never go on. It's canigetsompodcast.com. Can I get some podcast? And then on IG is Can I Get Some Podcast? That's it. Pleasure.
All right. Always good to have you, Damien. All right, Jerk, final thoughts, and how can they find you, Jerk?
Nah, great conversation. Everybody has some great perspectives, and I just want to let everybody know we will be placing bids on Dame, and it looks like Jody is definitely going to come through with a large sum of cash.
You need to stop.
Yeah.
You don't want my wife
Hey,
coming
man,
here
say your socials again for.
my wife coming here and cutting people. She don't play.
Nah, just joking around, but
As
yeah,
she
no,
should.
y'all can catch us on the Manic Sophistication channel, and also we're over here Thursdays. Masculine Mindset, definitely y'all pull up. You know, we have some great conversations here, and you know, Will got a ton of other great content. But that's it, Will.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jurek. And I think Jody is a unisex name, right? You can go both ways.
Could be.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm from San Francisco. Wouldn't be the first
It could
time.
swing on the other spectrum.
See, that's karma, Damien. Damien, that's karma for that girlfriend comment.
Wouldn't be the first time. So.
All right, so thank you so much, Jurek. Pass it, Manic, final thoughts, and how can they find you, Manic?
Final thoughts. Great conversation. Apologize to Miss True if I put you in a defensive mode with my first question. I felt like later when I was asking questions, I was trying to get just have some dialogue, not to trap you up or anything like that. But for my initial question, I think I kind of put you in like more of a defensive mode than a open and comfortable to have an open dialogue. So I apologize for that. You can find me on IG at the Manic Genius. And also, I work with the Jerk to have our Manic Sophistication channel. We do random reviews and shit. I just want to say, Carmen mentioned earlier in she mentioned the 50-50, and that was a trigger word for me. So I wrote it down. So we have to protect that woman at all costs. Thank you, Carmen, supporting the 50-50. Manic out.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Hybrid.
So much. All right.
Yeah, that damn 50-50 is triggering me.
The hybrid.
You're a hybrid man. You're a mixture.
And then follow, as always, final thoughts. And you only find him here, everybody.
Yeah, you'll only find me on the Masculine Mind, so don't look elsewhere. Look, great conversation, as always. And I think you ladies contribute a lot in terms of tempering a lot of the conversation in itself. The beauty of what we have a conversation around in terms of the masculine mind is that you typically would find him in all sorts of manner when it comes to finances. Not necessarily as uber successful or right at, on the grill at McDonald's, but you all have actually listed out qualities of what that looks like personified. The idea that you have adaptability, commitment, consistency, and teamwork. Those are the things to look for in terms of, the qualities that are derived from these standards that we have conversation around. And again, simplicity is conflated with boring, but at the same time, different timing, and we work in time, and we make sure that whatever the puzzle pieces that we're required in order for the vision to come true, we take good care of that part of the process, and we look into that very deeply. And not only that, I think Jerk mentioned it, one of the skills that we have as men in that sort of mindset is that we make complex things look simple. And a lot of our skill set as men who look at protection and provision in that manner is that we try and simplify life for those in our care, and that's why it oftentimes looks simple, but we do play. Ladies, what a pleasure to have you take part of the Masculine Mind. To the gents, Manic, Jerk, Damien, and Devil, I always appreciate the conversation with y'all, and Will, a big appreciation to you for this platform. There is none like it, and if there is, I haven't come across it. So if you be the trailblazer, I think all of us has been behind you in that effort. So again, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Paulo. I just want to say two things that comes to my mind. Devil, you don't need to know how to dance. You just need rhythm. If you got rhythm, you're good. You don't need how to dance. Right? Second thing, I do appreciate the Manic's comment, to your comment that you made to Nicole, and I think it's important. On the Masculine Mind, ultimately what we're trying to do is figure out solutions through open conversation between men and women to come together. And I appreciate that Manic said that and take accountability on that. And that just shows me the level of standard that you
As
have.
do I. Thank you. It came in hot.
Yeah. But I appreciate that because it shows
the Manic Genius. No,
yeah, the Manic, right?
My bad.
It just shows the standard that we have on this panel, and also as Manic. That's we ultimately the ultimate goal is to make sure that we can have some common ground and figure out solutions. And the goal for this podcast is not to make anybody feel defensive or to push people away or to point fingers that this is your fault and our fault. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to relationships, at the end of the day, it's nobody's fault. You have to work as a team. I think Carmen brought it up, but I do appreciate that you said that, Manic, and that just reflects you and what we're trying to do here. And I think there's a lot of channels out there that just trying to blame everything on one sex, and men and women on the men. But here in the Mastermind, we hold ourselves to a standard, and ultimately we want to bring women in here to be part of these conversations, so we can really understand each other and figure out the solutions moving forward. So that definitely, I appreciate that for you to say that, Manic. Yeah, definitely love that at the end. But ultimately, thank you so much. We've come to the end. Appreciate you guys always watching the entire stream. And I saw a lot of new names on here on the live chat. Thank you so much. But definitely hit that like, subscribe button real quick so you get notification. We do go live next time. And for everybody that's watching, I know the ladies on IG, a lot of you guys always ask me questions about understanding men and male nature and why you struggle, a lot of the things that you see with the men that you currently face in your dating life. The best place to get those responses and real, genuine answers is just come on here, jump as a virtual guest like Devil, and you guys can do that any single Wednesday, any single Thursday, and I'll invite you guys to do come on if you hear this message. But everybody, you guys have a great night. See you guys next time.
Peace out.
Good
Peace.
night.
All right, man. Thanks.